This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Promescent. Promescent, fine makers of sexual enhancing products. I'm telling you, man, I use the Vitaflux. Check them out. Vitaflux, put a little pep in your step. All right? Helps boost your sexual energy. This ain't no truck stop fucking dick pill. All right? This isn't some cheap Viagra from India. You know, this stuff, natural stuff, gives you a little boost throughout the week, man. It's not just a one-time thing. All right, they also make sex toys. You bring some of that home to your lady. They make woman gels. They make massage oils. They make lubes. There's all good stuff. They make some condoms, too. Haven't used any of those, but I imagine they're good. If I ever start using those again, I'll recommend them. And you're probably thinking to yourself, hey, I don't need that shit. Well, guess what? Yeah, you fucking do, all right? Because your wife called the podcast. Girl said your dick game needs up. Nah, man. Maybe your game ain't that great. And you're like, I need a little more. I don't last too long. I need that delay spray. Maybe your game is B+. So make it A+. If your game is A+, make it fucking A++. All right? And they make stuff for ladies, too. They get Vitaflux for ladies. Help you out there. So that goes for ladies. Jam with your clam. All right? This is not really going off script with this read. Anyway, that is Promescent, man. You can order from their website. You don't have to have any awkward encounters at the store if for some reason you're too much of a bitch to buy the shit you want. But go out, get it, man. All right, Promescent. All right, that is Promescent, Promescent.com, Promescent.com. And when you go to sign out, check your cart. You go to click your cart and sign out. Make sure you enter coupon code BAIN15. All right, discount code BAIN15, BAIN15. You're going to get 15% off your total purchase, and you're going to get free shipping. There's also a 60-day money-back guarantee if you don't like the product. So what do you get to lose, man? Also, it'll come in a special package, so it's not like your girl knows that you're grabbing it. Or guys, she won't know that you just bought that new special vibrator. It'd be a little surprise. Anyway, check it out, Promescent.com, baby. On this episode, I have on director, actor, Johnny Hickey. Johnny's an amazing dude, awesome guy, and he's got a great story about getting into the business, making it on his own, and without further ado, I'm going to let him tell it. Thanks for listening.
I said so long, carry on, 'cause the devil wants to take me for a ride.
Guys, welcome back. I'm sitting down with director, producer, actor, and my friend Johnny Hickey. Johnny, thanks for doing this, man.
All caught up.
I thought I entangled that right before you got here. I think I fucked it up more.
Kids got Home Alone booby traps set up for me.
Thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime, bro. I'm glad it worked out. My schedule's been, considering the world and how fucked up everything is.
Yeah.
My schedule has been just like, you know what I mean?
Pull that in a little bit if it's too far.
Yeah.
You don't got to eat it, but as long as it's like...
just makes it kind of easy to like...
It makes it, you really want to just lay back, don't you?
Lay back and eat fucking Snickers ice cream. Holy shit.
How's life been, man?
Dude, life has been good. Like, I'm grateful because something like what we just went through, what's still going through with this fucking crazy pandemic, coronavirus bullshit, you kind of like on the edge of your seat, not knowing what's going to happen in life, never mind like your career and especially like kind of the path I was following.
It feels like you're free falling.
Yeah, everything I just worked for and everything that was about to happen just froze along with the rest of the world. But for me, it was like, fuck, like where does this pick up? Where does my industry go? Like where does like filmmaking go as far as like working as an actor, filmmaker on sets and stuff, as also into like the distribution world of like, where the fuck's my movie going to go now if it's not going to theaters? Mm-hmm. So there's all that scary shit that happened to me throughout it. But then once things like kind of open back up, I've been slaughtering every aspect of like that world and just the networking has been.
Yeah, I know you've been busy.
I've
been trying to get a hold of you. You're in every city on the East Coast this past month.
Yeah, I'm in Miami every other week. I'm in Vegas for shit. I'm in LA, of course. Then I drove to Philly, so I like went old school and like fucking blazed up and took a road trip to Philly to shoot for a couple of days.
And nice 8-hour drive.
Yeah, and on the way back was like, even on the way there, I was like, why did I do this? Why didn't I jump on a 30-minute fucking flight? But because I'm flying down to Miami on the private shit, so I'm like spoiled now. So the thought of going into an airport to fly to Philly is like,
oh, dude. Like,
no, it's like getting on a Greyhound and like and busting it there to me.
Flying already was a motherfucker, but flying now during COVID makes you want to hurt people. It really does.
Oh, yeah. Fucking go in there ready to. And every time I go, I went with, it's funny, this kid, my boy who's in Habituals, Stiz Grimy, Stanley Bruno. He's a radio host he's the Greg Hill Morning Show he did.
Yeah, I know. I haven't met him, but I know who he is.
So we traveled together finally. He got like media credentials for us to go to UFC, and we got like, I'm like, bro, like 9 out of 10 times they stop me and they, for whatever fucking reason, facial recognition, I don't know why I get picked out of the crowd, but they grab me, whoever I'm with, and they fucking give us the extra shakedown. And he's like, yeah, whatever, fuck it. You know, yeah, sure.
Random selection?
Yeah, so he's just like, thinks I'm fucking with him.
Yeah.
Sure as shit, he'll back this up. We get there, and they're like, you two, can you come back here with us? And we had to do the whole fucking, like, pat down, which is great because I'm the guy, anyways, that stalls the line all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm not going through the fucking 3D fucking microwave that you have. If I'm flying as much as I'm flying, I'm not zapping my fucking balls every time I go through this thing.
I've seen what that does to French fries. I'm not going to risk my nuts with it.
It's like, yeah, so children don't have to go through, but everybody else, and elderly people, but everybody else, you're fucked.
Yeah, I'd rather get the grope from the weirdo TSA agent than risk being chemically castrated.
Fuck that. And that's how I realized I would travel with my daughter. She used to travel everywhere with me when she was little. Like, I had full custody of her. And so everywhere I went, she went on the 99% of the trips with me. Whether I had a nanny with me watching her while I was doing my stuff on set or whatever, I took her with me. And so every time I had her, they would always put me and her through the metal detector, and everybody else go, fucking spread eagle, all that shit. And I'm like, that's where I'm like, why don't they make the kids go through that thing? Like, what the fuck? Like, how is it okay for me to go through here? Because anybody could use a kid to do something that thing doesn't see, I guess, right? Like,
yeah, I should start bringing kids to
you
smuggle
should,
shit.
fucking smuggle kids into the airport.
I guess just.
So then I finally traveled without her, and they were like telling me to go through the thing, and my head was like fucking beep, 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 and I'm like, no. And they're like, you're refusing whatever the fuck they say to you.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like you're breaking the law.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're not.
So then they got to do a pat down. So they bring you to the metal detector and they rub their hands up your ball crack and your ass crack and whatever. But I do that. And I'll take the fucking rub down rather than go through that thing.
Every time.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
I think that's where they're giving people COVID. They're just popping them in there and zapping them with COVID and putting them out into the fucking cattle.
Every time things get back to normal, they're like, time for a new variant.
Yeah.
All right, you guys want some lambda radiation?
Oh, it's fucking crazy.
So let me start at the beginning. How did a dude, for those of you who don't know Johnny's backstory, how did a dude who grew up in the projects in Charlestown end up being a director and working, living the life that you live, dude?
It's been a while since I told this story, I think. But so I grew up in the projects in Charlestown. When I was a kid, they filmed this movie in Charlestown, this miniseries called Common Ground. It was about busing. Mm-hmm. Jane Curran was in it. I got a little role in it, like a featured extra kind of role. So I was an extra, but I was the best friend of the kid who was like the actor, young kid in the movie. And it was just fucking crazy. They would take all the extras from Charlestown, so bulk of the extras, and maybe some people from South Boston too or wherever, but like majority of the Charlestown scenes, all the extras were from Charlestown. And they bring you in, they put you in the wardrobe because it took place in the 70s or whatever, the busing era. And they bring us to St. Catherine's, where I filmed Oxymorons, like my Catholic school in the projects, where I went to church every week, where I was an altar boy, all that shit. And they would bring us there and give us a paper bag lunch with a bologna sandwich, an apple, and like a fucking juicy drink of milk. Like,
not even
like straight up
surfaces.
Yeah, straight up welfare summer camp lunch. And remember that, like red shirts, like fucking here you go.
I do remember those lunches.
That like I don't even know how we're alive after eating that shit as kids, but
it's just
It's like poison.
I remember going to a beach with like Fun in the Sun program with the Boys and Girls Club, and we had to fight seagulls for our sandwiches.
Oh my god!
They were like, "Where's our lunch?" Like the seagulls ate a lot of it, kid. So you get what you get.
It makes me gag thinking about it. But so that was what they'd feed us. And so when they would break the scene, it was a parade scene. So it's like they're celebrating the Bunker Hill Day Parade in the movie, or the TV series, and in the clap or whatever. And then like they cut it, director cuts it, the crew, and that's kind of where I learned all about like the cameras and the gaffing, and like I was so interested in that stuff because I loved movies as a kid. I was always watching like horror movies. It's like that was like my escape as a kid, was like watching movies to like escape the fucking movie I was in, and so they would break and they would take I was no fucking idiot, at however old I was, even 10, and I would see that they take the main cast, they put them in a van, or a couple of vans, and they'd ship them off to another place. So I asked the kid, the other young actor who was part of the lead cast, like, where did they bring you guys? And he was like, oh, we go over to St. Mary's, which is on the other side of Charlestown, like the nicer part of Charlestown, right? A nice church, everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we go down there, we do craft service. I'm like, what's craft services? I've never even heard that word before. That's 2 words before, craft services. And he's like, it's all the food and the catering. I'm like, what's catering? Like these are things that you don't hear in the projects in Charlestown.
No.
So then he's like, you should come. Like, and I'm like, I'm gonna. Next time the van comes, I'm just gonna jump in with you guys. Don't say anything. And the kid was cool. He was like, all right. And so the van came, and I just jumped in and like went with the main cast. They were like, all right. And like all the PAs and people, they don't fucking know. Like they expecting some young kid to jump in the van, and take off. And so I get down to St. Mary's and I go in, and it's like real craft services, real catering, fucking chicken salad, just stuff you just don't even see as a kid in the projects when you're eating SpaghettiOs, hot dogs, bologna sandwiches, all that bullshit. And I just sat down and had a bit of everything in front of me. I remember, and I'm just smashing it, looking at all these fucking rich people to me, and like, I'm going to get this. I'm going to have this. So that's where the psychotic fucking like manifesting want for that world came in, like right in that moment. And then I remember hearing on the walkie-talkies, they were looking for me, saying my name, what I'm wearing, because my mother's down at the other place with the bologna sandwich, like, where's my kid? About to sue whoever was producing that thing. And so they took me out of there. But from that moment moving forward, like, I wanted to be a part of that world. And then I fell in love with like watching movies, crime dramas, horror films. And that was like an escape for me. I'd take the bus over to the Assembly Square Mall, the movie theater over there, and I'd rent, go to a movie. If it was rated R, I'd buy a ticket to a kid movie and sneak in the rated R. And then when that movie was over, I'd always sneak into another and get a freebie out of it.
I did the same thing. I did that at the Boston Commons. I would do 3 to 4 movies in a row.
Fucking right. Fuck them. Right? Fuck the studios.
And if one movie was like more expensive because it was like HD or IMAX, I just buy the cheapo one and sneak in.
Oh, absolutely. So that was, that was the childhood dream of like, that's what I wanted to be when I grew up. That's what I was researching and reading. I'd go to like Barnes and Noble and buy filmmaker magazines because you couldn't even like Google shit. So I had so from that age, I was always into that. And then, my early adolescence, I fell into the street life, just got caught up. However it happened, drugs, money, hustling, I always wanted more than what I had. And people say privileged, bullshit, all this, that, the other thing, and all this fucked up world we're in. Like, I wasn't privileged at all. I was hated upon, I was a minority at the schools I got bused to.
I was the same way.
Yeah, and I just wanted to be out of the projects, and I didn't want to be on welfare. I wanted to have a car. My family didn't even have a car growing up. I would have to carry the groceries from one end of Charlestown, from Johnny's Food Master over the hill. I'll pull fucking carriage, those walking carriages or steel carriages, just because I didn't want to like carry the food. I'd take a taxi, green cab, whatever the fuck it was. I wanted more than that. I wanted a car. I wanted to live in some yuppie place, as we would call it. I just had that dream, and I think like getting caught up in trying to make fast money and drugs and robbing and stealing and all that shit, I got caught up. That kind of pulled me down into that world. That deterred me from thinking I would ever be a filmmaker, award-winning filmmaker. Like that, those childhood dreams went out the window. I think there was always a piece of it inside me that still hoped and like visioned something. And that's what kind of kept it alive. And, fast forward through like committing all those crimes, going to jail for 3 years, getting out. I get thrown off a cliff in Quincy fighting a bunch of kids from
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
was it at the quarry?
Yeah. So the Marriott Hotel.
Yeah.
It's built on a quarry cliff, and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a 5-story drop into that industrial park. And we were at a hotel party down there. Me and my friends have been fighting with kids down there, robbing them, drugs, all that
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, yeah.
The kids that came were just kids that knew that me and my friends were in their neighborhood causing fucking hell all the time. We're like, we're gonna fuck them up. And they came like 3 cars deep. My boy Mikey Wynn, this kid from Somerville, ran into fight with them because he was just fucking nuts. He would fight like 100 kids with a knife. Like he was not, he was just out of his mind, kill people. He was just like fucking gone. And so he ran in, and there was a moment. I had my little brother with me. There was a moment where I could have like left, like kind of like snuck around the corner through the cars and probably got away from this whole altercation. But my friend ran in, and I just was in that street mode of like, I can't, I would never live that down.
Yeah,
Of
I know
like,
that feeling.
I took off like a bitch. So I was like, I'm gonna get fucked up or whatever. So I go in, start throwing punches, and wake up 7 days later in Boston Medical Center.
God damn, dude.
Yeah. They threw me off the cliff, dislocated my hip, separated my pelvis, my bladder exploded, tore my urethra, and was in a coma for 7 days, woke up. They told me I'd probably never walk again, and if I did, I'd never walk normal, and didn't know if I'd ever even be able to use like my dick again and shit because
Jesus.
I tore my urethra. I was pissed in a bag for 4 months, signed myself out of the hospital on Christmas after being there for a month in BMC, like being tortured by like third shift nurse. Like it was horrible, leaving me there in my piss and shit. Like just, it was bad.
Some of those nurses are the absolute meanest.
Evil fucking
I came in there.
fucking bitches.
I got my head split open, and they were making fun of me while I was laying there in a neck brace.
Well, that's like the poor man's hospital, you know?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm in there with gunshot wound victims from Dorchester. Like
That's
next to
the
me
guy
in the bed.
next to me had gotten his
Yeah.
head was cracked open too.
People kind of like bleeding out of their ass. Like it was nuts in there. It was that was its own version of hell for me. So I signed myself out and went home. Again, like the manifestation thing, like I didn't want to accept that I could never walk again. So somehow, God, whatever you believe in, call it what you will, I like rebuilt all that in my head and like made myself walk. My pelvic bone went back and healed on its own, which they thought it was going to heal the way it broke. They didn't think it would. And you know, one of the doctor's explanations, like just like muscle has memory, so does bone in certain situations. It was just like it really was a miracle. So I took that and I decided to go work at the Comedy Connection in Faneuil Hall, ironically, and utilize that world that I had a cousin that worked in there when I was little, and he would introduce me to like Jim Carrey, Jamie Foxx, all these, you know, big, who are now A-list celebrities. And I was like, how is a guy like me in the situation I'm in, coming out of my crazy criminal world, where am I going to connect best to fucking break into the game and chase my childhood dream? I'm going to write a script about a chapter of this about like falling off the cliff, and they tie it all into like the pharmacy robberies and all that shit, which was what Oxymorons was. And then how do I take that and kind of maneuver that into where I want to bring it to? So it's comedy. Even though I was a comedian, I got a job as a door guy, worked my way up to booking comedians at the Comedy Connection when they had the room at the Kowloon, when it was their room at the Kowloon, working with Ryan Cott, and met Bill Burr, who's a friend now. You know, Frank Santarelli was friends with James Gandolfini because he was in The Sopranos, and he helped get the screenplay to Gandolfini. Ended up flying here and wanted to option it from me. Lenny Clark was a huge help from at the beginning, where he linked me with one of Dennis Leary's guys at Apostle Pictures that taught me how to write a screenplay the right way. Yeah. So like all these guys. So my vision of like utilizing the world of comedy to like launch this crime drama about my life and chase my childhood dream, like it all came from that world, which is nuts. Patty Ross, who plays my mother in Oxymorons, that's because I would sit there and watch her on stage. And like, she's the most authentic Boston fucking mother on the planet. Like, Patty, you're gonna be in my movie. I'm right in the back. Like, and she's like, you let me know, Johnny, I'll be in. And I literally named the character in Oxymorons Patty, so she plays her own name, and because it was based off her. Guys like Greg Howell were in, you know, did extra roles in it and stuff like that, little featured roles. Just different people. I played into it and kept them alive in my career, because a big part of like my growth out of that world of the projects and being a criminal and almost dying and drugs and all that shit, I came out of that in comedy, you know? And it was a great place for me to like have a job where like I could never, like what I do now and stuff, I could never work for somebody else. It's just, I'm not built that way.
I know that feeling.
but the management at the Comedy Connection was amazing. The people there were amazing. And it was a place where I'd go and like laughter is the best medicine. I mean, my job was sitting there and laughing the whole time, you know, and then like making sure like people sat in this. It was like a nothing job, but it was so much to me, and it helped catapult me to where I'm at now, which is like second feature, going to film the third of my own features this fall, acting in several other productions right now, producing a bunch of shit, and it's like.
Do you ever think about
that's the smallest version I can give.
Did you ever think about making a comedy?
I have a comedy written.
Oh, really?
So I do. I have a comedy written. It's called Swipe Right. So it's kind of at the moment it was was based in the world of like Tinder and Bumble, which could still play into it. But there's more to it than that. I don't want to give too much away because there's too many fucking like idea thieves out there.
Yeah, there are. And someone will take everything.
But I do want to do a comedy, and I got guys like Bill that are my friends that I'm sure I could work something out with to be in my film, which would help, you know, make it a better quality comedy. But the problem with comedy for me is it's really hard to market and sell a comedy.
It's brutal, especially in today's cancel environment.
You need, exactly. So, and for me, I'm pretty fucking real. Like all my movies are. I mean, Oxymorons has like
it's very real.
It's very real. It ties into the the racism tones of the neighborhoods. I don't hold back on any of that bullshit because that's me and that's the real world of like where I come from.
I've explained that to people in your movie Oxymorons that it was one of the only Boston movie that didn't hold back. Because everyone you watch is holding back on certain things. And the racial dynamic of what Boston is, or certainly was, is something that's always been held back on. Because
nobody wants to talk about it.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
They want to pretend like it never happened.
It's not there.
Like, you got, you have all these, these, in today's world especially, like, you can't say shit without offending people and being a bad, like, it's just, like, that whole world is just way fucking overtone right now. And you take all these people that kind of like in our generation that were raised in like almost like forced these opposite ideas and opposite ways of thinking, where we kind of had to develop our own like way of like, not segregating ourselves from the rest of the world because we were supposed to fucking hate everybody, right? Yeah. Especially what we're doing, like entertainment and stuff. You can't, you don't have to agree with everybody. You don't have to like the way everybody fucking dresses. That's all to yourself, but you kind of have to learn to like not judge people, obviously, by like skin tone and stuff. But yet you were raised in a whole different,
very different.
Yeah, and nobody wants to say like, "Oh yeah, I taught you to be racist."
Yeah.
And now I'm telling you can't be.
It's very much a. I've explained this dynamic to people, and it's kind of just something I had to unlearn too. Was that, I'm sure you had this even more than me, but like when you get into this world and someone is disrespectful, and you go. Your first thought is to, hurt them or punk them or whatever. And, and you're like, oh, I have to talk this out. And like, oh, I can't do what I was supposed to do. Or like you meet someone and you go, this guy is a fucking dirtball. Mm-hmm. I know from his energy. And people go, no, he's fine. And I was like, oh, you guys don't get people. Mm-hmm. You've never had to read another human being for your own safety.
Yeah. That's a blessing and a curse because we don't see things the way everybody else typically in the room sees things. But you always see things that they don't, and eventually people catch on to that and be like, you're amazing at reading people. And I say that, I'm like, well, I had to like read people to fucking like survive. Like, and so it's just like a natural gift to have that extra like fucking intuitive, scope on people you just meet just by little things they say, mannerisms, whatever. And it saved my life, and it's helped get me to where I am in filmmaking and stuff. Like those are the skills when you say like, how did you go from here to there? It's like, all right, there's my story, but then there's also all these little things that like make me have an edge in certain situations, like sitting in a room with fake ass producing people that are saying and just reading right through their lives. That all these other people see these smoke and mirrors and fucking like instantly, and I'm just like, no, and I'm typically fucking right on the right on the money, Sometimes I'm a little out, but typically I'm right on the money. And those people eventually, I had that attitude that you had before, where it's like, "Fuck you, mother! Like, what's up? Yeah. Like, let's fucking put your hands up, like that kind of shit." And then you realize like you scare people with that, so you got to kind of like only utilize those tools when fucking absolute super necessary, and when they're super necessary, bring them out. And that was a lot of growth for me to learn that because I used to just throw punches at people.
It's such a hard thing.
Threaten people. And then I was like, and then people, Johnny's crazy, and then those other people that you want to work with are like, afraid. They're intimidated by you. So they distance themselves from you. So I had to like tone that down and just kind of, let people know that I fucking know. And if you want to fuck around, we can fuck around. But just keep it. So now I go into rooms and they kind of just look at me and like, no, fuck with him,
Yeah.
And I'll throw out some nerdy shit. Because you look at me and I'm a street kid and fucking, my hats and all my fucking swag and shit. So you just think I'm a kind of thuggy kid with a cool story and then I hit you with the nerdy shit or I hit you with like shit that filmmakers themselves don't even know about, like just distribution and like getting on the phone on a conference call the other day and they're trying to sell me to someone that's saying they can bring me to Netflix. But really what they're trying to do is like take my film and just bring it everywhere with the possibility. Like it's like the bullshit thing that they do. And then they take all your money, and I just hit him with like, no, I already did my own TVOD. He's like, oh, you did your own TVOD? I'm like, yeah, I did my own TVOD.
It's a
like,
fun
why would
feeling,
I give you
isn't
my
it?
fucking TVOD? Yeah.
When you put that on them, because I get that. I've had that my whole life, just like you, especially in comedy too, where people treat you like you're a fucking idiot, right? Because they hear the way we sound, and in their minds, we're living, breathing fucking cavemen, we're Neanderthals, and I would have this with comics. I remember talking to a comic, and he goes, we're talking about a book series, and he goes, wow, you like know your stuff. You read. I just thought you were this Southie dude. And I go, I am a Southie dude. And he goes, yeah, but like you read. And I go, we have books, right?
No
like,
shit.
what do you think I do? Just bang fucking rocks together in my free time? It was like, I know more than you do, but I would always allow people to think that I was dumb because I go ahead, like think this, and then you're not going to see me when I come up.
I try to like have that same kind of flow with people, but it's hard because I let them know right away.
Yeah.
That's like still in me, that instinct to just be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Was when you were directing Oxymorons, your first movie, what was like the big hurdles you had to go through? You had to go anything like that?
God.
Where you had to prove yourself to people who weren't going to give you the time of day?
I mean, I guess like, so the Gandolfini thing was interesting because everyone was so excited that Gandolfini, I mean, it was so exciting that Maddie in the Morning found out, was like, I want this kid on the show tomorrow. And they sent a limo to my mother's house.
Oh shit.
Brought me to Maddie in the Morning, which again, like locally, the power of like Maddie in the Morning bringing you on his show to have an in-person interview with you. And I get to tell like a piece, obviously like the time is shorter on FM radio in the morning show. But his producer at the time said that Maddie had never let anybody talk that much by themselves without cutting them off in her history of working for him.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. And so I went on there, and that power of like people knowing you're in Maddie in the Morning locally was like,
yeah.
And the story while I'm on Maddie in the Morning is that Gandolfini from fucking The Sopranos is here and wants to make Oxymorons, which was true. He wanted to make Oxymorons. He wanted to option the screenplay from me for $50,000. So he gave me $50,000, 15 points on the back end, which in those kind of deals would be nothing. I'd owe them money, if anything.
Yeah.
But I get the $50,000, which to me at the time is a lot of fucking money, right?
Dude, yeah.
Remember, I'm a fucking door guy at the Comedy Connection, booking some comedy shows of my own and like hustling and doing things. But like $50,000 is $50,000, and I got a brand new baby coming and all this shit, right? So he comes, he wants to, but he wants it to not only. I'm not going to be in the movie, so I'm not going to be a part of the filmmaking process, which is why I wrote the fucking thing and what I've been living on for these years. So he didn't see that part of it. He was all in the like, oh, this kid really did these crazy things and wrote a movie about it, and it's a hot topic right now that nobody's talking about, opioid epidemic. Like, this could be good, but I want to take it and I want to have someone rewrite it, like do some rewrites on it, have it take place in New York City.
Yeah.
Of course, right? And
take out like the
Hell's
racial
Kitchen.
elements and things that might deter people.
Yep, and doctor this thing down a little bit, and so then I would end up with a story by credit and $50,000, and where would that have brought me today, right?
Yeah.
Then God rest his soul, he ends up passing away like shortly after that. But at that meeting, I told him, "No, I'm fucking good. Like and everyone's looking at me like I'm fucking crazy, and I'm like, I believe in fate and destiny with this stuff. I've been
I do too.
I've like fucking been dreaming this since I was a kid." And like have these visions, and here I am sitting with you at the Kowloon, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I'm sitting with you, like, and he's like, "Good luck with fate and destiny, ha ha ha." And I was just like had this like, and I'm just like, whoa, like I'm not like hurt, but like almost like what the fuck, like there's this dude, you know. But to like bring a silver lining to that, we go to drop him off at the airport, and before he goes through the gates to get zapped on his balls and all that shit
to get
we talked about earlier.
His original COVID.
Before he goes to do that, he turns around and he looks at me and he's like, "Hey, you know what? I'm sorry." He's like, "I take that back about the fate and destiny thing."
Yeah.
It rented space in his head from Kowloon to the airport, wherever it popped in, however long it was lingering there. But he knew he was like fucking wrong and shouldn't have said that, whether he believed in it or not. Like, I think it, whatever it was, it made him turn around and say that to me. And that stuck with me forever. When James Gandolfini turned around and said that to me,
Apologized, yeah.
at the airport, you know, and was like, "I take that back. Like, you know, you get it. You should take this thing, and you should fucking do it however you want to do it. You know." Which is what I ended up doing. And the other hurdles were just like, obviously, like raising the money and to do the film the right way.
How did you do that? Because a lot of people don't know like how expensive it is to make a movie.
Yeah, so I had some money saved, and I put in like about 30 grand of my own money that I had, and then someone matched that 30, so we had 60, and then we took that 60. And through that 60, we got 10 grand from this guy. So different people that were in the movie, or their like kids were in the movie, whatever, had certain little roles from the North End and stuff. They all invested in the film. So they all like threw something in to help, you know, with no expectations that this movie was going to make millions of dollars and like they were all going to like, you know what I mean? They're all just everyone kind of like came together because they loved the script. The North End guys, the big thing is that still good?
Yeah.
The big thing with them was like the Gandolfini thing. See, the Gandolfini's like an icon to these guys, right?
Yeah,
even though he's an actor, he is, but he's a kind of a real dude too. Even though he was like an actor and played it, he was still like kind of like very real in his persona and stuff. He had that vibe to him, and so these guys love him. And the fact that he came and took interest in this, I think, yeah. So it gave me, you know, held my ground there and gave me some ways that people like took my shit more serious, obviously, in the Maddie in the Morning. So I was able to utilize like being on Maddie, putting a press kit together, being friends with Christopher Rohn now, who had been writing about me since I started the screenplay and like was the editor at the Phoenix at the time. So he like got me a cover page, like just all these little like pieces just to locally. Like, fuck Hollywood at the moment, you know? Not fuck Hollywood in general, but, like, actually, fuck Hollywood, too. but fuck Hollywood, fuck everything else. Like, how do you're trying to make the movie and get it done. Then you can worry about all the Hollywood shit after, the post-production, all that world. How do you take it whether you're from Boston? Boston's a unique place because of how the city operates and if you know who you know and fucking all that kind of shit.
Yeah, it is, man.
So I was able to pull in all the network that I had built locally, all the press, like make this thing like A-list in the city. You know what I mean? There was no other indie film that anyone was talking about. All anybody was talking about was The Town, which was a studio film with Ben Affleck and, you know, The Departed and all these things. But like nobody was doing like an indie film. And I realized that a lot of motherfuckers around here want to be involved in the movie business, whether it's like being a producer or having an act, you know. So I got cops that were homicide detectives that wanted to be in it. That cop brought in another cop with a cop car. A state police helicopter ended up on set. Real DEA task force doing raid scenes with their real guns. A jail that I just utilized like who I am, turning my life around, the story I'm trying to tell. Everybody's been affected by these fucking pills and the heroin epidemic at this point. Like, we need to get the message out there. Back me. Help me, you know, show the collateral damage of all this bullshit and get some redemption out of what I did. And they did, like, all those things. Not the money we raised like 120 grand to shoot Oxymorons, but the equity was like fucking priceless. You know, what is a studio, like say, you know, Affleck or Damon or whoever, or Wahlberg or any of these Boston guys come in, being from here, with the studios behind them, pay to use a real jail for a week straight, 24 hours a day, master keys to it. I used to piss. I remember pissing in those metal toilets when I was locked up for 3 years, and like always like just like that, you know what I mean? Just like those are one of those stagnant things that like I never wanted to see again. And then I was doing it, and it was one of the most surreal moments. Making a movie, and I was like pissing in that toilet, looking at it, thinking of all the memories I had of like pissing in this toilet, like, counting the days till I got the fuck out of that hellhole, and now I'm like here making a movie. So.
Life comes full circle, man.
All that shit comes full circle.
It really do. It really does. It's cyclical.
So, but that's, you know, there were hurdles to get to those points, you know, just raising money, people telling you couldn't do it a certain way, you know, whether it was Gandolfini or Ed Bianchi, who was the director of The Wire and The Brotherhood and from Showtime, he was interested in. But everyone had their little thing of like why I couldn't do this, why I couldn't have the racial stuff in there, why I couldn't show this scene, why I had to use a name for this. And I was just like, fuck all that. Like, I'm going to do it my way. I have a vision. And I put together my own cast that was a killer cast for for like a lot of non-actor people. It was fucking organic. And I wanted it to feel like the movie Kids.
Yeah.
You know, Kids felt like a real movie. And that was the reason why was like a lot of those kids were like skater friends from Lower East Side.
Yeah, they were New Yorkers. So it worked. Yeah, they were real camaraderie.
It was, so you felt like you were watching a documentary more than a feature scripted film. Because all those kids kind of knew each other and were from the same neighborhoods. And it was unique. And so I just did that same kind of formula for Oxymorons, mixed with a comedian, a UFC fighter, a real cop. So you had this stuff where like you have like real cops, real prison guards playing their role with real ex-convicts, and then like David, who played my brother. It's just like all these different kind of fucking characters, and it just worked.
Did you take a lot of shit from other people for passing up on Gandolfini?
A little bit, you know what I mean? A little bit. There were people involved with me at that point that were, you know, like thinking I should do it, and then other people like knew how passionate I was about being a part of the movie and making it, and the whole thing was acting to me. I became a director by default too on Oxymorons. Yeah. That's the other thing that everybody should know is like I had a director attached to Oxymorons going into it. Oh yeah, this kid Christian Johnston who I met out in LA through some people, and he directed this movie called The September Tapes that was in Sundance Film Festival, and it was like kind of like a found footage film, but it was about someone going to find the answers about like the Taliban because his wife was killed in 9/11 and all this stuff.
Oh, shit.
It's actually a really cool fucking movie, and he did some really cool like really firing gun scenes, just stuff. And then he went over and filmed in Afghanistan. He's nuts, so he had balls, you know. So I'm like, I want him. And I had a DP from Chile that was filming like, you know, fucking lions eating fucking snakes and shit and whatever the fuck. He, you know, National Geographic animal attack shit. He had like fucking like cougar marks in his shoulder, like nuts, like that. And he had the red camera, which was like a big deal. No one was shooting on red yet, really. So I had him and that director attached. And the director was finishing a movie in Beirut, Lebanon, called the Beirut Contract, which was another fucking crazy war zone that he like threw himself into. And while we were getting ready to go into production, they did a car bomb attempt in the hotel he was staying at. Not on him, just he was there. And then he got held there. It was on CNN, all this shit. So he couldn't leave, couldn't get out, whatever was going on. And so I had to end up stepping up and directing Oxymorons. I had a director for 2 days come in that was like a TV commercial director, realized he could not do what I wanted. And I was like, I can do this. I can direct. I know what the fuck to do. I remember what they did. I fucking read enough shit. Like, I can handle this with my cast.
Were you scared at first?
It was a lot of weight, but and it was like a lot of pressure. I'm like getting like chest pains thinking about it. Right? I'm like, oh my god,
dude, I'm getting chest pains just thinking about directing a movie.
Yeah, because I'm like I'm playing the lead in this movie. That was my big thing. Was I wanted to be an actor as a kid. Remember, I was an extra, and that was the thing.
I did too.
I wanted to be an actor, and that's where I always felt I could shut out the world I'm in right now and become and I can do that. I have that gift, and it works well for me. But the only way to become a really good actor, I felt, was like not going to Boston Casting and trying to be the pizza guy or the guy at the bar every time, which is cool and like it helps you like build a resume and get IMDb and all that. But like if you want to play lead roles, you gotta like figure it out. Yeah, you gotta make a short film, whatever the fuck it is. And I just said I'm gonna make a feature. I'm gonna play this character. I'm gonna showcase my acting, crying, screaming, laugh, everything, you know, which my character does throughout that film.
Sex scene.
Sex, like fucking let it all out there, right? Like you're gonna go, right?
Yeah, what as well.
It's all real shit too. So that happened at one point, right? So even on set, and so I said, this director's a goof. That my movie's gonna be goofy. He's out of control. Like So what was crazy was at the time the Teamsters were like trying to shut the fucking movie down because of like the typical shit that goes on, right?
Yeah, it
like,
was in union.
Well, they didn't know. Well, they didn't know, but they just heard there was a movie filming down the Charleston Projects that wasn't. And then but like once they came down and realized it was me, who my family members were, that they knew and respected, and the head of the at the time, then seeing what I was making the movie about, I had cops in the movie. UFC,
yeah.
they were like, you know what, we're going to give you a pass because, you know, because of everything, but because you're trying to talk about the opiate epidemic, which
Something
they
that
all lost.
plenty of them
They
are
all
going
lost
through.
people
Yeah.
too and stuff. So even the fucking Teamsters, like that, like torture people throughout history, right? Of like, I mean, no one wants to say it, but I mean, it's been in the Herald 1,000 times, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not today, but at one point, right? And I guess still when I was filming Oxymorons too. But they even came on my side and like gave me a pass and like let me do my thing and like anything I needed, like let them know. So that was amazing. Like all those kind of pieces coming together for that. But those things are going on. Like there was a day of that where I was like, how do I'm always like going through the obstacle. Like, how do I take the dog shit I'm faced with right now and utilize it to kind of fucking manipulate the situation and to become like a redemption thing, just like I'm doing with the movie. Like even like little moments like that. And that's how my brain operates. It's the survival instinct of growing up in the projects and being in jail and all the bullshit, right? So I'm like, oh shit, this is perfect. Because I realized that the director who's on right now and has only been on for a day and a half is petrified that the Teamsters are threatening us.
Yeah.
And he's from Charlestown, this guy originally, but like more of a yuppie kind of dude, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit, I'm not even gonna tell him that they're like cool with
That
it.
you- yeah, that
I'm
you
gonna
fixed it up.
I'm gonna leave this like they're gonna fucking kill us. He's literally one of my other friends that was on the set kind of instigated it a little bit too for me. You know, but he was like, they're gonna kill my mother. I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, they probably will.
You know what? You know what? You know what? You don't have to do this. I don't want them to torture your family.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll figure this out. This isn't your problem. He's like, thank you. And he left like a bitch. Fucking left like a bitch. And I was like, I got this. And I took the fucking reins and I just.
The universe provides, man.
And everybody on set worked with me really well. I had producers that were, you know, directing scenes with me while I was acting, obviously. I had a cast that I had just a natural fucking family chemistry with. David, you know, playing my brother, who's really like my big brother, Patty, who is like a mom to me throughout the fucking years that I worked in comedy. You know, telling her that she was going to be in this movie. Now she's in the fucking movie. She's looking at me like, you did it. You know what I mean? It's like little things like that help project me to this thing where like I directed this movie and then I seen the movie play out. I won awards for being a director. And I realized, wow, the directing part is like pretty fucking cool too. I'm gonna do this as well. I'm writing, I'm acting. I'm respected now as a director. I might as well fucking direct shit. You know
that a lot of guys do puss out when it comes to that, and you a lot of this is what I've heard and read is so many guys get to that opportunity and they're like, well, I'll never get this chance. So they sell their script, they butcher it, their baby is gone, you can't get it back. But then there's the stories of the dudes that do hold out, like, you know, Sylvester Stallone with Rocky or Chad with A Bronx Tale.
That's what happens when you read fucking books. Like they don't think we do, you know?
Yeah.
So like you said, like, you know, what do you think? I've been banging rocks together? Like I know all these other stories that, like Rocky especially, right?
Yeah.
I didn't see that as a kid on TV. They never talked about that or told that. That's all from reading and like fucking doing your research. And a lot of the time reason people push out and tap out too in this industry though, like of filmmaking, is because a lot of times it's not as blunt as like, you know, how Feeny was like, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get 50 grand. You're going to get 15 points, which is going to be nothing. Being straight up with me, you know what I mean? I never was like trying to like play, you know, throw fucking hocus pocus at me. Like he was legit, and some other guys too. But like there were a lot of other people that they try to throw these smoke screens. Like, all right, well, you're going to option it over to us, and basically we're going to push for you to be in the movie. You know, we're going to push for you to be in the movie. But once you option the screenplay over to them and all this shit, you realize they're going to be like, all right, the producers aren't going to put the money behind the script now because they say we need a name. And the name is the guy who's invested 50 grand in the movie. You know? It's not even like a fucking name that's going to sell the movie. It's the guy who's putting the 50 grand. So they have this whole fucking formula and strategy set up to like, fuck you, take your idea. And that's what happens to a lot of people.
Yeah, that's what they almost did that to Chad. I think his last name is Chad Palminteri. He wrote A Bronx Tale. He played Sonny, and they wanted Robert De Niro to play him. And he goes, no, I'm not doing it. You can't have it if I don't get to play him. And De Niro backed him up. And that wouldn't be what it was if it wasn't for him.
Absolutely. That's another one. So there's so many like stories like that, obviously, but that's what happens is filmmaking and like at any aspect is hard. And if it was easy, everybody be fucking doing it, right?
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of people that don't do it. A lot of people try to wear all the hats too and shouldn't. Like I could have been that guy that came in and was like, I'm gonna be the writer, the director, the producer, the actor, and one of them just doesn't work. Typically, it's the acting. Typically, they're trying to be an actor and they just ain't got that camera fucking. Trying to be a badass and they're not. They're trying to be a sex symbol and they're not. It's some forced scene to like be in a sexual relationship on camera with a hot girl and it just don't fucking work out. It's fucking creepy. I see that shit a lot.
That does happen.
And then then I've met people that can kind of act and know how to like memorize their lines and bring some chemistry in the scene. But then they're directing the thing and they're just the way they see everybody is how they see themselves. So they're trying to make everybody the same. And then that shows on camera. There's no like natural chemistry formula of character development between people. So I see those things. And so I never wanted to direct. That whole thing came by accident, and that's why I wear all those hats now. But I'll do a project and wear any other hat and not ever try to be the director, producer, whatever. Like I just did a movie where I'm acting in, and I love it because it's the second time I worked with these producers. And it's like, I'm in. My DP's there, too, my cinematographer from Habitual, and he was my second unit DP on Oxy. He filmed on these two projects because I'm kind of, network that I'm building. And, like, I'm looking at all the hell that he's going through, like, the daily, like, on-set hell that you go through. Like, lens don't work, whatever the battery and the red...
There's always something,
There's just shit, you know what I mean?
Even with little things like stand up.
You're behind, the sun's going down, they're going to lose light, they got to relight the whole room, whatever. And I'm just like, all I'm doing is acting. So I'm just like seeing all this shit going on around me, and I'm like, this is kind of like fucking dope. Like, I don't have to worry about any of this. It's not my fucking problem. I just got to know my lines.
And eat your craft services, man. And
smash the food and fucking dip. So I stay humble on sets with whatever hat I'm supposed to wear. But there are like my projects that I'm always going to be working on that are mine, that I'm going to be the majority writer on, director, and an actor, whether it's a lead role or some good featured role, Habitual, I wasn't trying to be a lead in that.
Yeah.
Like we did a first cut that we screened at IMAX and Reading, and everybody, like people I respect.
I think I was there for that.
Yeah. It's people I respect. We need to understand your character more, and you're like one of the better actors in your stuff. Like you should like boost your shit up more.
Yeah.
Stop being humble, And I was like, all right, fuck it. So I did the rewrites, and I like wrote in that psychotic character that I became.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's
Do you prefer one more than the other at this point? Acting, directing,
acting.
acting.
It's what I went for is what I love.
Yeah.
There's no mistake there. I love acting. I don't like auditions.
Yeah,
I don't like cattle call auditions. I don't like getting sides 2 days or 1 day before I'm gonna read for fucking something, which I can do. I can memorize lines in fucking 10 minutes typically, like for like up to 10 pages of dialogue. I can kind of like really suck in and do, but I don't like going in and reading with like some casting agent person that's just like, okay, Billy, I'll see you then. And then you're supposed to give this like crazy emotion, and you're standing on the blue line.
I've done those before. It's so fucking weird, man.
Yeah, they're just like it's not comfortable. So when they started doing because of COVID, they start doing the, send in self-tape.
Yeah.
Self-tape for me is so fucking easy. You set up the fucking iPhone, blah, 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 I don't like that one, blah, blah. And then you get to find especially as a filmmaker and stuff, I get to see the one that's the best one. That's the one I'm sending. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you go into these cattle call things, it's like you get one, maybe 2 shots at it, and that's it. And then you walk out, you're like, fuck, I should have,
And some I've done some where I'm in there and there's just 2 people, and then sometimes where you're in there and there's like 2 dozen, and they get the lights all set up. It's a whole crew meeting, with Crips, and I'm like, what is this? This is a lot.
It's the board meeting. So I love acting. I love being on set. I love working with other actors. I love becoming in the moment of like, even if it's some stupid fucking character, becoming that character and leaving, like not being Johnny for a minute. I enjoy that. Fucking sick, twisted part of me likes that. Like
I like it too, man. Yeah. It's fun.
And so that's where it is. And then I fucking love writing when I'm done, you know, and I have the creative. So like, if I could just take like what's in my head and just like spit it, you know, I'm sure fucking Elon Musk or someone's gonna help me do that at some point, where I can just like think my screenplay in my head, like I have 10 of them right now, and it's just like boom, in format, done. But I hate sitting there and typing out character dialogues and all that shit.
Dude,
I do it, and I love it when it's done, and I'm like, ooh, look at this piece of property I built. But it's like, well, you're building your fucking house from the, you know, the fucking basement up, the foundation up, and banging nails and cutting wood. Like, none of that shit's fun.
No,
you know?
I've explained this to people that the hardest part about being a creative, in my opinion, is just getting it out of your head and into on video, on paper, just where it can translate. That getting it from just an idea up here so that someone else can see it is the most difficult part. That and editing. Like I went to Columbia 6 months ago, filmed a shit ton of tape, like a lot of video, and people are like, you don't have that out yet? And I go, dude, it is taking me so long. I don't think anyone understands how much time of a movie or any video is spent editing. I spent hours just to make 3 minutes.
So I'm not an editor. That's one thing I won't claim.
It's brutal, man. I don't want to do it.
I sit with my editor, and that's hard enough. Just like sitting over my editor like this, like me and you right here, literally, and you know and I'm watching him, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna leave. I'll come back, and I'll just like tell him what, and then I'll come. He'll show me something. I'll be like, I love that. Can we switch that? Do this, do that, and that part's fun. But like, kudos to him. He loves it, and he's an amazing editor.
Some people do like it. I don't know how.
Oh, and that's the thing too, is like filmmaking. You gotta like, especially features. Like, I'm so blessed and so lucky to have like my team around me. Like, I get a lot of credit as a filmmaker, and I respect that because I am the glue in my crew. Like, I'm the one who puts it together and hustles everything up. And like, you know, my DP has been working on other projects without me, and then I've been acting, and he's like, you know, this is all cool and stuff. He's like, but like your sets are like fucking just a whole different vibe. It's like, I love it. And my editor is the same editor. So I get the same camera guy, DP from Oxy and Habitual, and same editor too. So those as a director, besides your actors, are your fucking key. That's your, without those two being money, you're fucked. I don't care who the fuck you are. I don't care what director. I don't care Eli Roth, Quentin Tarantino. Unless any of these motherfucking nerds are sitting there fucking editing themselves, and which they're not, as far as I fucking know.
Nope.
They're dead in the water without their cinematographer and their editor. And then there's a bunch of other shit you need too, but like those are your fucking two things that, like, if you want to make films and people like watching this want to like get interested in like getting the story off the ground and into the next level of like distribution out of post-production, you better have a great cinematographer so that your editor's job's easy. Those two need to be in sync with you and your storytelling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. How long does it usually take for you to edit a movie?
I mean, you could do it in 3 months, right?
Yeah.
Appropriately, like get your story cut the right way, and then it's got to go into like all the sound shit and fucking Foley and color correction, all different other stuff that you got. But that stuff's faster, right? That stuff's a lot easier. It's getting that story edit done, and you know, you make the movie on set and you're in a rush. You got your days done. You got to be fucking. We got till 6 o'clock. We fucking need to wrap. We need to get all these scenes in, whatever. And you do your research pickups, whatever. After you hit the editing floor and you realize you fucked up or you need to change some shit. But then that edit is like really where you sit with the movie and make the movie.
Yeah.
And if you're not feeling it, if you feel like it's just not there yet, and you rush it, you're fucking shooting yourself in the foot.
You are.
So it's better to, with Habitual, like I stretched the post on that for almost a year.
Yeah.
Between like, but that was doing like pickups and reshoots of things, going back into the asylums and fucking filming crazy chase scenes in the hospital up in Tewksbury. Like, so I added in tons of makeup effects. I did add a lot of like a whole half of another movie, I guess, to it. But I stretched that and I sat with that with my editor, and I go home and I take breaks and like live my life and watch stuff and then go back out to LA and fucking hit it again until I got the cut that I wanted, you know, to tell that story the right way. We also went into it with no script, Habitual. Nobody knows. So Oxymorons is a full script. So Habitual has a script, But so much shit changed between one of the actresses just being a fucking idiot and having to like cut her shit and having to like rewrite something for a girl that I knew going into it that was a better actress, but she was not known. She was young and had never acted before, but she just had the gift, and I seen that in her, and that's why I brought her into Read to begin. And she has a look on camera that's just like, it looks right, and you look like, oh, you think you've seen her in other stuff, but she just has that look to her, and she's dope. But then this other actress that was on MTV and had a fucking social media following, and for all these stupid fucking reasons, we gave her, and I was influenced too by my DP and some other, like, yeah, but you know, she's the girl Brittany.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you had any actors that you really didn't like working with.
Yeah, she was really fucking, she can say what she wants, but everybody on my set will back it up, and like a lot of, even like the girls on my set ain't friends anymore. She thought she was better than everybody because she was on MTV, and she carried this attitude that I didn't like, where she's like, you can't do this without me, I'm the star, and like, just like dumb shit. Meanwhile, like, CT's in the movie, who's my childhood best friend, we've been fucking like this forever, you know, and he's like the biggest thing on the shows that she comes from. So if anything, he don't carry that attitude. So why, bitch, are you carrying that attitude? Along with the other two girls on the set that were also in the MTV shows. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just like by chance. Like I knew these girls because of all the MTV stuff. Like they're not even like that known on there, so it had nothing to do with that. But they wanted to act. They were down to do this. So wasn't she, this girl, but her attitude was like, I didn't like it. And then her acting was fucking horrible. Like all her stuff, like she couldn't get it. And it showed at the IMAX screening that just her shit didn't work. The chemistry wasn't there. And I just was like so fucking pissed too. I was like, yo, I'm fucking shooting all this bitch's shit. I'm going to show you that I don't need you. You know what I mean? And that you're not the star of the film. Now you're going to be the least important person. And I'm going to stunt double and kill you in a fucking sink, which is what happens. You know?
I know what we're talking about now. I remember that scene.
Yeah. So the girl that gets butchered in the sink isn't her. It's another girl I brought and threw a fucking wig on and fucking gave her the fucking worst kill. Like, just like you're out.
It seems to be happening more and more. Have you been like pushed to use, I guess content creators is the term being used, but people with large social media followings are being skipped to the front of the line over actors all the time now.
Yeah, and it's fucking dumb. And I'll tell you why it's dumb, because I have one of the biggest MTV reality stars in my, if not the biggest. Chris is up there, CT, and he's got a heavy following on social media, and so doesn't his network of people and everyone we know, right? But when you get to the Netflixes of the world and the fucking Lionsgate studio distribution companies, most of them aren't gonna give a fuck. I'm telling you right now, they don't care that he has 500,000 people following on Instagram. Here's the thing. They do give a fuck, but they pretend like they don't, because they're still going to hit you with, we're only going to give you this because you have no names in it. But my guy has more following than this actor that you're telling me will sell China, the UK. You know what I mean? So they base it off of like the Nicolas Cages of the world. I'm just throwing him out there. Like, you can put Nicolas Cage in a movie and you're going to be guaranteed to sell a certain amount of markets because of who he is.
Just his face alone.
Yeah, just his face alone, on how shitty the movie is. And there's a lot of other actors that if you like kind of do like this combo where you see all these kind of grade B movies coming out with the same actors in it, that's just like that formula. Like, all they're trying to do is like get these names in it so that they can get a sale, so they can make some money back and get the movie out there. So the story and the acting and stuff gets kind of fucking disrespected and wish-washed to do that. And I'm not for that. So I put CT and them in the movie, because they have social media fund, definitely will help push an indie movie, but it really didn't benefit the movie in any way, that social media stuff. Because social media also, like, where are you talking about social media? Like, to do Facebook, you got to buy ads anyways. Yeah, you do. So it doesn't matter. You're going to be more of a value buying ads with whoever the fuck's in your movie than putting someone that's famous in there. Instagram, like all these different platforms, they don't want you to leave that platform. So if you're trying to like have people post that the movie's coming out and check out the trailer on YouTube, it's like, oh, you're going to YouTube? Fuck you. Yeah. Now only fucking 50 people are going to see it.
That's exactly what they do.
So it's a weird evolution of like coming into that like tech world with film, and people getting, stomped on that are better actors because someone has a bigger social media following. So it's like, as an actor now, like for me, like I'm lucky because I'm on social media, I'm verified, and I got a following. And you kind of need that extra edge to have any, like, even though I'm a filmmaker who had a movie on Netflix, my first film was on Netflix, and it's more important to the world, though, that I have this social media following to prove that I'm a verified filmmaker, as opposed to, like, I am a filmmaker, I am an actor. Without that, like, but you need that too. Like, so if you are trying to make films and you are, you know, acting, whatever, like, constantly building that stuff as your resume is, like, so important, you know, kind of making your platform for that, I guess, you know.
So it can be viewed through social media.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it doesn't happen there, it doesn't happen anywhere. And actually, I'm curious about this. What do you think about the way movies are being released now, in that they're coming out on streaming services before or at the same time as in the theater? Because I know some people, like the director, I forget his name, he's directing Dune. He goes, dude, this is not how my movie is meant to be seen, is you on your couch. He's like, I know later on you can watch it, but come to the movie theater. He's like, it's not the same experience. You're not, it's changing the dynamic. Do you feel that way?
I do feel, it's not even that I feel that way. It is that fucking way. So, and that comes down to a double-edged sword, as I see it. So first off, for me, I agree with that director, but people don't give a fuck. It's just stop crying, dude. Like, and evolve with the, like, watch some Gary V shit, because, like, one of the things that Gary V always says, like, about like everything evolving. Yeah, I always hear him say that shit, you know, and it's, like, so true. Like, with this stuff is, like, I don't agree with it. There's nostalgia about going. I love the movie theater.
I do too.
And I think what the movie theaters are going to become is a fucking vinyl record store. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they are. It
like,
sucks.
You can. There's something about taking a record and playing it record, or even if you were DJing, taking a record and throwing it on a Technique 1200, you know, scratching, fucking mixing two records together. But there's something way easier and way more convenient and way more taking over the fucking brain of society, which is like this CDJs and, like, the, you know, all the fucking mixing right from your Mac and all that shit they do, right? So it's the same thing with the films. Even looking at film itself, like, film so beautiful, nothing will ever be better than film. Come along the red camera, the RE, and some black magic shit that fucking now you don't even use. Film's obsolete, right? So no one thought that would happen, right? At this point, and it did, right? And crushed that market. So the same thing with screening movies and distribution. People were already watching movies more at home because there's people that don't care about the nostalgia and the popcorn and that shit that we love, right?
Yeah.
That is why I'm making films, is because of those things that I wanted to be the guy showing a movie in that place to those people. Like, that was my spot, and it's still my spot, right? But I think the days of, like, and I hope I'm wrong, but I think the days of, like, those big blockbuster fucking movies comes out and there's a line and you got to get your tickets in advance because the new Star Wars, I don't know if that's going to happen anymore. Definitely not with being able to see those movies, because now there's some loophole where Disney, HBO Max, which has DC, like, so, like, all the DC movies and whatever, can play movies that you would see in the theater that Friday nowhere else on your TV, right? For free with your membership.
Yeah.
So they're going to crush it that way. They're going to make the movies so that they go that way because they're going to make more money. They don't have to split it with the theaters no more. They don't give a fuck, right? And people are lazy. People want to watch it from home anyways and on their phone, and everyone's short attention span. But mix in fucking coronavirus.com and now you got people that love the theaters but are afraid that they're going to get COVID.
Yeah.
You got the restrictions that are going to keep people from going there. So now you got the studios who put the money behind marketing a film and pushing you into the theater saying, fuck that. We're not going to put a marketing package behind this film and tell people in theaters this fucking Friday because nobody's going to fucking go.
Yeah.
And then you got theaters shutting down and all. And so now you have less theaters to screen in. So less screens, less money return. So it's shitty, but, like, if filmmakers want that not to happen, want to keep, they better fucking, like, find a way to, like, fight that shit, right? Yeah. Find a way to, like, if you have to pay to watch the movie on TV, like a $20 like ticket fee, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing, because a lot of people are going to do, they're going to rather go to the movies or wait until the thing is free. But when you can just watch the movies for free on HBO,
it makes no sense.
like Suicide Squad, like that's
I
a
just
summer
watched that.
blockbuster.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm watching on HBO Max. It sucked too. But
Yeah, I was not a fan, and I'm
Yeah,
like, you know
they
what?
can't
This
get
is
it right.
the reason I watched that at home is because I was like, I'm not gonna fucking. This isn't a movie I wouldn't go to the theaters for.
Yeah, no, fuck. Movies,
Like Dune, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go see that. That's
right?
I'm
And
a
you
huge
pray,
fan
and you
of that.
and you pray that it's fucking like good.
Yeah.
Like it looks good, and it's got some like cool actors and stuff in it for sure, and it looks like it's gonna, and it probably will be good. I'm hoping it's good, but then it's like, is it gonna be as good as the? Is it gonna be like another Total Recall versus the first Total Recall?
That's what
Like,
I'm afraid of, man, because
Yeah.
I love that series.
That's what I'm saying.
And there's some that, so like going to the theater for me was a happy place. It was something I loved to do. And for a while I was like, there's no good movies. And then they redid Mad Max, right? The Road Warrior.
you know, so funny.
and-
It's so funny you say that, because when we were just talking about Dune, I was about to reference, like, is it gonna be another Mad Max?
I loved that remake so much, dude. I went to the movies 2-3 times to go see that. And I go, I wouldn't have the same experience if I saw this at home.
No, the
as when I
sound in
saw it.
that was like the sound, like not even just the not some of the music, but like the Foley and the explosions and stuff.
When the guy's playing the guitar on top of
Yeah.
that giant car, that was unreal.
And they did a ton of practical stuff in that film. Like they did a lot. Like they paid retribute to like fucking the old style filmmaking, which is like not having the ability to like create everything in post production. So like a lot of the explosions and the car, that was all real
Yeah,
stuff, like
That
they
was
did
real shit.
in the originals.
they built that and were driving around the deserts of Namibia and Southwest Africa
Mm-hmm.
for months. So it was a real deal, I was like, oh, movies aren't done. I was like, I just had to see the right one that brought me back into it. And
How did you feel about Mad Max not having any dialogue?
it didn't bother me.
Yeah,
It didn't
was
bother
different,
me.
right? Yeah.
Because I felt like it worked with his character. His
Mm-hmm.
character was really fit the stoic guy. If we're still following the same idea that he lost his family and everything, and he's distant, it kind of fit like a Western.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I liked it. I just, some people like were like, oh,
It didn't bother me at all. I thought it was great. And also it showed that Tom Hardy didn't even have to speak to be a great actor.
Mm-hmm.
He could just go, that's bait. I think that's one of his few lines. And other than
Mm-hmm.
that, he just grunts and kind of points and hits people.
I loved it.
And
I thought they were gonna do another one.
I think they are. I hope they are. And I've realized with that is that a good director and actor or actress can do as much with silence as they can with a line. Because people attacked Scorsese for The Irishman because the one girl that talked a little bit in the movie, the daughter of that character, of De Niro's character, has like 3 lines. But her silence in the way she treated her father, I thought was everything. Was just as much, if not more important, as her having a screaming fit at him.
What's the film with Lawrence Fishburne years ago?
Last King of Scotland?
No, it was like a crime drama. Fuck.
Was he was in Harlem, right? He was a kingpin?
No. What the fuck? It'll come to me. But all the shots it hit like on his eyes, and just like his eyes are telling the story almost.
Yeah.
Like, and I love that about being a filmmaker too. Is like you can get a lot out of people by just like facial expressions and body movement. It's not always about dialogue. Dialogue's important, obviously, to tell certain stories and certain scenes and stuff, and to like carry the story. But you can definitely pull stuff from people off of, and that's where a lot of people don't have the acting chops. And I see in films and like why like certain movies, I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Like, because they'll have their lines down, they memorize it, but there's no character.
no
They're
face.
like
There's
a
no
fucking
soul.
robot. They're like all they're thinking about is memorizing their lines and like spitting this shit out. And I'm always like looking for like a character, no matter what it is, out of everybody, different. But not everything has that now.
Yeah. The other movie that got me back into the experience was The Hateful Eight. That's my favorite Tarantino movie, and it's because I saw it. He did it with film. Like he brought the film from city to city. There was even an intermission. There were no previews. It was like a real experience. And I was like, oh, this is. And I watched the extended version on Netflix. I still thought it was great. I know a lot of people most people didn't like that as far as his films go. I loved it.
It's just kind of the same formula as Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
You know, the same amount of characters, in one location overall. Like, you know what I mean, where the majority of the stuff's taking place. You know,
It felt like a play, honestly.
Yeah, no, it did. Yeah, no, it was good. But you have, that's the thing, is like you have different people have like this like fucking like low, you know, attention span as it is. And so what I've realized, like, especially in like the people that love my films, that love oxymorons and love habitual, it's a cult fan base, because not everybody can grasp everything I'm giving you and the layers and like the different kind of stuff that whether you're from Boston and you're picking up on it because there's like certain like little Boston things, but even things to the streets and to the drug world and to like the way fucked up people think and mental illness and all that shit. Like I layer that shit within the story, but other people might watch it and be like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
And they're not going to. So a lot of people, and then you take it on a whole nother when you're talking about stylistic filmmaking, like Alfred Hitchcock shit and like Quentin Tarantino kind of like almost making it like a play, right? And like real theater. Like people don't appreciate that.
No, some people
Some
won't.
people do, but overall, most people like don't give a fuck.
Yeah, a lot of people won't. I mean, it's like anything you create, you realize, oh, some of my shit isn't for everyone. This ain't for you, so there's no reason for me to tailor it for you if you weren't gonna like it in the first place. I'm just gonna alienate the people who do like my stuff.
That's the best way to, you know.
I realize that, like, whenever I put out something comedically and I get hate for it, and I go, well, this wasn't for you.
Right.
Like, you weren't going to be the person who buys tickets to my shows or follows me or likes my comedy. So what do I care if you hate it?
What was that joke you said recently? The one about the fucking and the big dig.
Oh, I talk about
It's such a Boston joke
People getting
because-
drunk at work.
Yeah, it's such a Boston joke. If you could take that somehow and turn it into like a joke that everyone could get, but like people who get the big dig, obviously, again, will get that.
Yeah.
But for those people that know it's fucking hilarious. I watched that and I was like, oh, that's actually fucking funny. That's like one of the things that will stick with me of like your joke telling is that thing randomly that I came across on social media. And I've seen you a bunch, you know?
Yeah.
And that was like, for me, like, I was like, it connected with me. Because it's like so fucking true. I would say the same thing. You know?
I've had people follow me who don't like certain things I do. And I go, well, you weren't following me because you like my comedy anyway. You were following me for some other reason. Or you saw one thing you liked. And I go, but
your job is way more difficult and affected right now than mine. Like, there's some political correct bullshit, obviously, with like what movies are getting picked up, and like you need to have like these races in your movie, and you got to have this gender as the action star. It's like you can't do that with everything. Like you can't be like, all right, we just need women to play, because a lot of dudes, just the way it is, it's not believable for a woman to come in and like chop someone up with a fucking.
It just isn't.
You know, with a fucking 3-piece.
I'll turn a movie off if that happens.
So like, if it's part of the story originally, fucking great. You know what I mean? It's not like men should be playing more feminist fucking roles. You know, like.
Yeah, you turn on Harriet Tubman. You're like, why is Tom Hanks Harriet Tubman?
Yeah.
Right? What is this shit?
Yeah, what is going on
Well,
here?
why is there a black woman playing a Viking right now?
Yeah, it's insane. Like what is being forced onto people's creativity and creative freedoms. But like for comedy, it's like fucking holy shit. Like you guys are up against a fucking sword.
I had
and
a
half.
final realization in COVID. Like lockdown and COVID did a number for me in that it broke me down, because I was like, oh, dude, I lost everything. You know, my life, my career, everything. I was like, I felt defeated having to come back to Boston the way I did. And I was like, and it's not because I wasn't working hard. It was out of my hands. And I had to start over. But I had this realization where, oh, if I think something's funny, I do it. And all those voices that you used to get of, you know, other comics or someone criticizing me or giving me shit, I'm like, no. If I like it, I do it. And if, you know, and maybe
That's what
other
makes
people
you
don't like
no,
it.
and I think that's one of the things like Burr, like that I always loved about him, which, you know, is biased because I'm like friends with him, but I should always say he's one of the best. But that's what I always loved about I like his comedy, regardless if I never met him and was never even cool with him and all that stuff. I would still watch, because he just says shit so real that is definitely offensive to a bulk of people, but he does it with such like I don't give a fuck, and like got himself obviously to a position where like he was kind of in the clear to kind of like fucking hit that shit, but it's inspiring for other comedians to see someone like him doing it, to be like, I can fucking say my own shit and not. I hate when I go to a comedy show and somebody's just like PG-13 and shit, because it's just it's not natural, and it ruins it. It ruins it.
It does, and then I've realized with me, my comedy, God, it's better now than it's ever been, because I don't hold back, and I'll be on a stage and I go, I'm not going to say pussy in front of you. I'm not going to make these pussy jokes because I like them and I think they're funny. And the more I was real with them, the more people would give in. People know when you're being phony or fake.
Yeah, of course
they
they
pick
do.
up on it super easy,
Yeah.
so whether you're an actor or a comedian or any type of creative. If they feel like you ain't being real with them.
And that's how the bulk of like, I gotta fix this for a second.
Yeah.
That's how the bulk of like, you know, the typical local comedians that were like headliners would be. A lot of times, where like there was a lot of guys that were just like soft and it was fake, and then every once in a while someone would come up and be real, and that person would for me would shine. I'd be like, they're the fucking greatest.
And they like to give you shit when you are real because they don't want to be.
Yeah.
So if and I've seen this, I think this happens with music, with comedy, with anything, is that when you get the balls to just do it, there's someone who's going to be. It's usually the guys who want to do it but won't, who get the angriest to criticize you the most.
That's fucking. I know that's. If you don't have haters, you ain't in the game though. That kind of hater though, I know that hater, that one that like they wanted to do what you did. They wanted to roll that dice. They didn't want to sell their script. They didn't want to, doctor that joke. And so then you do it, and that I know those are my biggest fans.
Those are the people who come
fans.
at you the most. It's not even the person who never liked you to begin with. It's usually the person who sees you doing what they wish they had the balls to do. And like that, those are the dudes who get the angriest.
After Oxymorons, like those people would come out, but like I had so many like unnecessary haters that were like, "Oh, that's one thing because that story. Oh, he stole that story." There's so much bullshit, right? Yeah, one and done. And then like after a few years of me not fucking around. I mean, I was raising my daughter and shit, but not, and I was making money doing like events and like comedy shows and EDM festivals and what the fuck I was doing, right? And I kind of like lost the grip of like storytelling, filmmaking, right? And so there was that moment where the people were like, all you ever did was oxymoron. It's like, all I ever did was one. You know how hard it is to fucking write something, and then shoot it, and then have it on fucking not only in theaters, win awards, screened it in London, met my father for the first time screening my film at the Prince Charles Cinema, and then like ending up on Netflix and Hulu with my first film. Like that wasn't enough, right? It was like people had to shame that, right? And take that away.
Someone saying that he only like wrote, directed, and acted in one movie. How many have you done, fuckface? Right. What do you?
And I remember those fucking people and who they are, and especially here, because Boston's so small, right?
Yeah, and
most of them will say shit to my face. You know what I mean? It's always shit, but I know who's who, and I know who I hear in circles of fucking always. People always fucking like sell out the fucking dude who's talking shit anyway. So I always hear it, and now it's to the point where like I'm not like I'm the shit, but like I'm doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm from here. I'll always be here, no matter how big and whatever I'm doing. I'm always gonna have. I love where I'm from, and it's built me to do all this stuff. And I love being in the other places I am too. But now it's like after COVID, I've been fucking handling, and I've come in, and it feels good. It feels good to have accomplished another film. It feels good to be making other ones, and it feels good to kind of be respected around like my peers that always believed in me, but now see me, and like even guys like you that are like, "Yo, Johnny, I see you fucking doing your thing," and like that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so I remember who those guys are, and those are the guys that I'm always gonna come back and fucking wreck with, podcast, whatever it is, just going having a drink, smoking a joint, whatever the fuck it is, But people lose that, I see a lot of other people.
Some people do.
Yeah, they shed that.
Well, I know how real people are and honest people are in the world. Never mind this business. It's even. So those are the ones you have to hold on to.
Yeah.
You should, because nothing good comes from dumping honest people for yes men.
Yeah, when I come and see you, Burbank, right? Burbank Film
We
Festival?
met in L.A., dude. Randomly, we were just at the same hotel. I was out there for a comedy festival at Burbank. I was trying to figure out if I was going to move to New York or L.A.
That is where we first
We met in L.A. We didn't meet in Boston.
That's right. I thought like I knew you already. No, that's where I met
that's
you.
Where we met.
At the
we
hotel.
met. We met at the gym. We were working out. I had a Southeast shirt on. You go, you really
That's
from
what
here?
it was.
And I go, yeah. And we hit it off. And it was like,
that's fucking right.
It is funny how you meet people in the most random of places.
That's funny. And then I came down, and that's right. And you were fucking funny. And I was like, oh, this dude's actually funny. Because wasn't even go down. And I went down and told them who I was, and I got media
Yeah,
credentials.
I remember I was with you when
I
you
was
did
like,
that.
I'm gonna make this
'Cause
thing.
they weren't gonna let you in. You're like, look me up, and then they had them for you next time we came back. Well, you're not in LA anymore. You're in Miami now, right?
I'm in Miami now. Yeah, every other week.
Do you?
I'm still doing stuff in LA, but right now, like the stuff that I'm doing doesn't need me to be in LA. And LA is just kind of weird. I'm going to LA this weekend, ironically.
really
like
weird right
I'll be
now.
there. I'll be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm going to this like huge fucking Dan Fleshman's. Is that his name? Dan Fleshman? Yeah. He's like some big entrepreneur, do whatever. But I'm going to his birthday pizza party, some massive networking fucking thing, and going with some friends to take me out there for that. And I have to meet up with some studio people, but LA is just like, I left LA when it got like really fucking crazy.
That's what I did with New York City.
It's the same thing. So COVID just became super weird out there. I didn't have to be there. I still had a place back home, and that's where I felt I should be. And then I went and fucking hid in Maine for 6 months like a lunatic.
I was hiding in New Hampshire, dude.
Yeah. Like I was like deep, like Canadian border shit, like fucking generator on the property, a gym on the property, I'm talking like a gym in like a fucking the airplane hangar where the water plane was, like a fucking pine wood, heavy bag hanging, like just free weights, eating moose, fucking ready for like survival. Like where do I go? Right? Yeah, but I like that challenge a little bit. I'm glad that everything kind of came back and it didn't turn into Armageddon. But I was proud of myself that I was able to like come back from LA. Shit was really fucking weird in LA. This is the beginning. Yeah. I was getting ready to go on tour. So that's the other thing is like, so I'm getting ready to go on tour with Habitual. We're in a shitload of fucking film festivals. We win Philly. We win Video Scream. All different awards. Screening. Me and Chris CT are going to go on tour with it. And it, big deal. And it was going to get a theatrical release. And right when we're going to go ready to go on tour, all the shit's going down. LA's getting weird. The toilet paper shit, it's happening. Like no.
I remember that.
And I'm like, this is just LA. I'm like talking to my mom back home, people back home. They're like, no, everything's fine here. So I fly back, fucking mask on, all this shit, like, and nobody was even wearing masks here yet. No one in Boston put a mask near their face, but in LA, I did it out of like the fear of like catching this thing, right? So I threw a mask on, and it wasn't even being advised to wear them yet, and I just wore it on the plane, just fucking came back, and had my daughter and trying to figure shit out, and was still shit was weird in LA. Everyone was saying going crazy in the news, but mass didn't happen yet. Everything was kind of still fucking cool, and then like all of a sudden, some people got it, and some people here have it, and some people here have it, and the toilet paper started going, and the fucking supermarkets were, and I'm like, oh my God, it's happening here too. Yeah. And so I'm like, I never experienced anything. So what do I do? So I found a place up in I looked deep in Maine. I call my friend who's private military. He's fucking nuts. He's actually, that's how when I mentioned kids earlier, I know that because he was in kids. He's one of the kids like in the skateboard scene where they jumped the dude in the park.
No shit.
And I know all those Lower East Side skate kids that did Zoo York and Shut. They had through him this kid Eric Monday. So Eric's private military. He's like Vice did a story on him. He's like legit. Like he's like a little dialed in.
Like Blackwater.
Yeah, dude,
shit.
dialed in. Yeah, like fucking leaves for a few months. Know if he's ever gonna come back, and he comes back, and he's got like a couple $100,000 cash, whatever the fuck he does. He's a ninja, dude, for sure. And so he's like, dude, get Jaybird and go to Maine. Mm-hmm. He's like, that's where you want to be. He's like, you can live off the land. It's like, that's what you're thinking. Yeah. And so it's like, fuck it. Like, again, it's the most aquatic fucking state, I think, in the country. There's like tons of spring water, fish, hunting, Canadian border, like just like literally thinking like that. Went deep up there and less chance of catching anything because there's nobody around you, you're in like, and I ended up staying there for 6 months, dude. Like, into the whole thing, just like went through that whole winter. Obviously, the festivals got canceled. Our tour got canceled. And just stayed up there and, like, hid out, from this fucking fucked up world.
I did something pretty similar. I was like, I lived right on the borderline of East New York, which is the murder capital of Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's still real Brooklyn, man. It's not gentrified Brooklyn. I go, I don't have a gun. I was like, I live on an island, right? This is not where I want to be right now. No.
And whatever the virus was at that point, or whatever you thought it was, it's also like where you're more likely to catch shit. Oh, absolutely. Where everybody's on top of each other. Now, it's so fucked up, dude. I just filmed in Philly, in New Jersey. And I'm like, where am I? What are the rules? Like, I might be back on that shit. Because I couldn't even, on the way back, typically I would go into New York. I would stay for a night in New York and, like, hang out with some friends that I have in the city, do the whole New York City thing. Like, I can't even, like, go into a fucking, a bar, a restaurant, or anything because I don't have a vaccine passport.
Yeah, I don't either.
So I'm like, and this Delta variant's going around. People are getting it. You know what I mean? Like, I know people here, my brother, his girlfriend, people in Florida, people that just came from Texas, people in Vegas, the whole family all have whatever it is, you know what I mean? But like another version of COVID that's like fucking a little bit more brutal.
And a lot of them are vaccinated.
Yeah. Yeah, well that's what's going on. But people have this fucking misconception that if you get a vaccine that it puts a force field around you and you can't get a virus no more, which is fucking false if you know the science of a vaccine. That infection still happens and then you shed pathogens and fucking
mutate and come out again.
Exactly. So And of course, this vaccine's the first of its kind. And what it's doing is literally people getting the vaccine, they're asymptomatic. They're spreading the fucking virus to people. And while they're carrying the virus that was originally the fucking lab-coated fucking whatever
that came out of the
you
Wuhan
believe.
lab?
Yeah, exactly.
No, it was a bat soup,
the bat soup
dude.
that fucked the monkey in Africa.
The
The bat soup that fucked the monkey in Africa.
Oh, fucking
right?
bat soup.
Right? Remember that one? Like the monkeys eat the dude fucking the monkeys would cause AIDS.
Yeah, it's caused AIDS.
Yeah, so it's like the bat soup that fucked the monkey. And so whatever that is, so now the people with this stupid fucking vaccine, you know, and if you need to get it, you want to get it, like to each their own. But what they're doing is now they're getting it, and now the virus is still going in them. Mm-hmm. It's fucking getting stronger to try to fight this fucking vaccine. They got to mutate, whatever, and then coming out, and then probably people like me and you that don't have the vaccine fucking have more of a chance of getting it.
I think people don't realize that. So I was doing a lot of fucking when I was in New York City, and so every few months I'd go to the clinic to get checked, and they were like, we got to be careful of super gonorrhea. And I go, what the fuck is super gonorrhea? And like, where did this come from?
What is that?
And so what happened is so I remember going in. I fucked a girl who later on was like, hey, I have gonorrhea, you should get checked out. And I did, you know, and I didn't end up having it, but they wanted to give me the shot for it anyway. And I go, but we don't know if I have it yet, so why give it to me? And they're like, no, just do it anyway. But doing that, overusing it, caused the virus to mutate and become stronger to it. So what happened is gonorrhea got used to the antibiotics and just became stronger over time. Because like it's not fighting, you know, it's something you have to get rid of, but they were overdosing for it, so it just didn't work. Whereas like with something that you need antibiotics for that, but something else that's just like a flu or a smaller virus, your immune system is going to fight it off.
Right.
Ideally,
of course,
unless you're someone who's, you know, has a problem.
Yeah,
with that.
compromised or whatever. Like it's this world we're in is so fucking like.
It
I
is,
wake up every day and I'm like, what the fuck?
So I now, as of next Friday, if I'm performing in Boston, I'm waiting to find out what this is about. Audience members have to wear masks. I don't know if I have to wear a mask. I just know there's a mask mandate in Boston next Friday. But if I cross a bridge into Cambridge, or if I just go to Quincy, I don't, right? And I go, and never mind, you probably experienced this. You going from New York to Florida or Miami, it's two different dimensions.
Miami's fucking popping. And that's the thing is I'm down in Miami and I'm in clubs with Steve Aoki's up next to me smashing someone in the face with fucking a cake. They eating cake off each other. There's no, it's like fucking fully wide open in a place where it's supposed to be the most dangerous because of COVID and everything, and there's no restrictions. Meanwhile, my brother and his girlfriend, my brother's an introvert, dude. He doesn't go anywhere, do anything. Like he has a job, like a bullshit job, that he doesn't work around many people. No one there has it, by the way. And then he got it, and she got it. Maybe she got it at her work as a hostess at a restaurant, but they're here. You know what I mean? In this place that's everybody's vaccinated and all the fucking bullshit. And then I'm down in Florida where nobody is, and everybody's out just fucking ripping and running.
Yeah.
Crazy amount of people, and nobody's got it that I know down there, really.
Dude,
in those circles, anyways.
It's like right now, Australia has the military on the streets of Sydney, you know, shooting rubber bullets at people. And right now, someone's just chilling on the beach in Corpus Christi.
Well,
it's like, and it's not that one is like, they're not, neither of them are shoveling bodies into dump trucks. Okay.
Well, I think not everybody wants to admit it, but a lot of people are realizing now about like, and it's sad that people are dumb and didn't see it at first coming because they're so fucking stupid and fucking mesmerized by the news and the media and everything. But like the government affects in how, you know, no matter which party it is or which side you are, like how they're utilizing it to become a political debate, right?
Yeah.
Which is so fucking dangerous to mix like science, health, and a pandemic in with like control, not control. What's the right in between moment? You know, if the virus is so bad and so catchy and so deadly, why does my daughter go to school wearing a mask? She just shouldn't go to fucking school, right?
Yeah,
At all. It's
yeah.
either all or none. Like the mask thing's such bullshit. Like they say the masks don't even work. It's an airborne fucking virus, which a mask cannot protect you from. Like it, you know,
It goes through.
these
man.
holes are this big. I know you can't see them, and then the virus is even fucking like 100 times smaller than those little fucking holes in your mask and up here, and it can still, you know, if it's airborne shit, you're still gonna breathe it in. You're still gonna touch it, touch your face, touch your mask. It's touching your nose, it's touching your mouth. It's like, whatever, right? The masks. If you want to wear one, go for it, but you should never be forced to do anything. And that's the play. Like that's the control thing. That's the thing that's coming back. And it's like how are you supposed to feed off of your fucking audience telling a joke when you can't even see them laugh because they got a fucking napkin wrapped around their fucking face? You know,
it not just that. It just as a human interaction, it creates an extra level of separation. I was in Brockton at this Italian deli, and you know this old Italian guy behind the counter is giving me shit 'cause I'm taking too long to order a roast beef sandwich. He goes, you motherfucker, how long? Come on. You didn't see the menu? And I can only see his eyes. So at first I was like, what is your fucking problem? And I didn't realize he's smiling underneath. He's just breaking my balls. And I go, oh, I'm missing a part of this human interaction. Because literally we just explained this. You just explained this in movies. You don't even have to talk sometimes to show an emotion.
right?
A smile, a smirk, a grimace, any of that. What is it? 85% of all communication is nonverbal.
Yeah.
You know, and you're right there. You're just cutting off a human communicating with another human.
Yeah, it's banana land. It's complete fucking banana land. And until people like really step up and like and unify and like fucking say, no, we're not gonna do that. Like they're just gonna see how much and who they can control. And when they realize that they can control the bulk of the population because they're a bunch of fucking weak pussy ass fucking bitch motherfuckers, then. And that's what they're going to do. Like, that's just the way the system works. It's like, there's no...
Yeah, it just keeps going until you make it stop. And if you don't make it stop,
the fact that it's state to state is different, city to city is different. That's the part that, like, what people don't realize. It's like, so if you're just doing it here and the rest of the world ain't doing it, it don't fucking matter anyways.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Unless you're gating off, which is the next thing I see coming. Like, imagine like New York City, like you have to have like a vaccine passport to get into the city.
To the city.
And it's like, yo, that city's going to collapse. People are not overall going to want to be there, work there. They don't. Those companies are going to get the fuck out of there, you know? And it's going to become Escape from New York. Like you'd think when you watch these movies in the 80s that then that one can never come true. But like from like They Live and like Escape from New York, I could see like both of including every zombie apocalypse movie I've ever seen like actually happening now and why it can happen. I've even like seen the studies of like why like a zombie apocalypse could happen. Like how does that could never happen. Like no one could ever turn into zombies. Well, there was an ant or some sort of bug, right? That was a ground bug. Like say an ant, right? Walking ant. I'm saying I don't know the science of like exactly.
Are you talking about the fungi? The fungi that gets in their brain and they go up and they sprout and turn into a fungus, a mushroom.
Well, no, there's another one too where there was a virus that was going around with them, and it was basically it would kill the colony, right? So the virus would end up kill the colony, and then the virus would die off because it didn't have the rest of the colony to kill. So what the virus did was these viruses are so smart, especially in these insect species, is it would then, after it would kill the ant, it would have it grow wings and fly over to the next colony to implant the virus.
And spread
This is a real fucking thing. Like, this isn't like a movie. This is like, this is real.
This is
fucking
real.
So
I've I dated an entomologist, an insect scientist, and I would watch when her caterpillars.
I can't even take you
I'm
seriously.
dead serious, man.
I'm being that ignorant kid. Like, you're from Southie, though. How did you date a fucking...
Fucking internet dating, man. And,
how did you date a scientist?
I dated a scientist,
Oh,
and
shit.
I learned a lot. I learned a lot of shit about bugs and whatnot. And she specifically grew Lepidoptera, which is moss and butterflies. And her caterpillars would get infected all the time with either a fungus or a wasp egg. And the wasp eggs would literally reprogram the caterpillar's brain so that the caterpillar would sit there and fight and like lay eggs out of itself of wasps or babies that would hatch out of its own back like alien, and then fight off other animals that or insects that would come along to try and eat them. This thing would literally have an alien erupt out of it and then would mother the thing that ate its way out of it. It's insane.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's some wild fuck like
That's some human centipede shit you were dealing with. Yeah, those stories in bed.
Oh, dude, we had a very kinky sex life. It was great, but I also lived in an apartment where moths were fluttering around my face all the time, so I got used to
fuck.
it.
My
Everything's
God.
got a trade off.
That's fucking hilarious.
But that is, I don't think people realize in the insect world what is really capable and how that would reflect with us. Because we like to think everyone says, you always have those times where you talk about like the Nazi Germany or Soviet Union where people go, I wouldn't have done that. And they go, yes, you would. No, you wouldn't. Like some people wouldn't. And there's a lot of people I talk that shit. And I go, you're kind of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yes, you would. You would do exactly what you were told.
Mm-hmm.
Even you wouldn't even have to be threatened with death. You just be afraid of being made fun of. All right, I know people like that.
Yeah, just being cuffed out on the
Ostracized.
side. Yeah.
So yeah, that's exactly where we're at, man. It's a wild world, not just for entertainment, but for everyone.
You know, for everybody, and it's super weird for us too. You know,
Because it's weird from like to even
like I want to set up a screening in Halloween
Yeah.
for Habitual because it didn't really get a big Halloween thing because of COVID and everything, and we're getting ready to push it to Tubi, and some like Ava, people can watch it for free. You know what I mean, with ads and stuff. So I got like a few other platforms going. I'm part of a platform now too called Doc Room. We like have our own library of movies and shit too, like on Roku, your iPhone, Apple TV, everywhere you get it, Amazon. But I want to do the screening and do some like a pop up in like Salem, Mass. I'm in Miami. Grab the drive-in down there. Miami won't be an issue. I can definitely do it down there and do a big event down there for Halloween.
Yeah.
But I want to do it here too. And originally I wanted to do a whole event where I was going to rent out the asylum that is still a functioning asylum that I rented up in Tewksbury, and do a screening in the asylum, which I think people would fucking
That would be
love,
awesome,
right?
dude.
Right. So
that would be insane.
so these are some insane things I want to do. Like you should go see Habitual in an abandoned asylum that has electricity. This one's like you could do stuff in it, right? And do a screening of Habitual in the asylum and do a whole like event in there.
That'd be awesome.
But I start to think like, all right, so I'm gonna put money into like promoting this thing, renting, doing all the shit, and you get the equipment to make it a fucking experience, not just like throw up a screen, like have this whole fucking like walk through in, out, after party, like fucking dope, right? And high ticket price, like exclusive party, was not a ton of people, maybe like 100, 200 people, $100 a ticket, something like that, right? Something it's a dope experience. You get to fucking hang out in the asylum after for a couple hours and food and whatever. Like it'd be a dope thing. But if I go to do that now, shit could happen by October where they just start shutting shit down again. You just don't know.
Yeah, I think it's gonna
so
happen.
you can't even roll the dice with like events or anything.
They're already canceling a bunch of concerts. I think everyone was like, I thought we were going to be out of this. And I go, no, dude, you're not out of it till you say I'm not doing it anymore. It doesn't matter whether it's mask or vaccine or whatever. They're going to do this every year as long as you let them do it.
Right.
There is no
They're
off
like
switch.
opening up the summers. The
Yes.
summer's wide open, and then summer's winding
They're
down. We
like-
got to like get them all back in the cage.
Yeah, they're calling you bluff. They're like, you lazy sacks of shit won't protest or riot when it's cold out. You fucking punks and bitches.
Yeah.
We'll do what we want as long as we can. Because once...
And we'll build other rioting campaigns against topics and
Yeah.
things that really don't fucking matter in today's world.
That
Like,
don't fit into the
we're just gonna go backwards And like, I feel growing up in a fucking racist fucking neighborhood and going to Boston public schools and everything I had been through as a kid in Boston, you too probably, I felt like up until COVID and the whole like BLM movement shit on the news and everything, I felt like up until that moment, we had come so far as a society about like how race did not fucking matter no more. And like, you know what I mean? I could hang out with like my black friend and none of my white friends would be like, yo, why are you hanging? Which there was a period of time when I would get shit for hanging with a black kid, right?
Yeah.
And I never understood that. I mean, I understood it and I understood why, but I understood why everybody was so ignorant. And I found a point in Boston, like in other parts of the country and everything where like it just didn't matter. Like, you know, like shows like somebody be over this fucking crazy white boy and like we say funny shit to each other, but like there was no like judgment there at all. And now I feel like all that shit happened and it's like back. It's like everybody went backwards and everyone's like, wait, what side you on? What side you on? It's like,
yeah, it became a side thing.
Fucking my side, motherfucker. How's that? Fuck both your sides. Fuck everybody. And so, but you put something like that together and you have people riot for this cause, right? And and most of it's fucking white people, like. Yeah. It's fucking insane, right? Most black people I know like that's fucking bullshit. It was literally like my black friends are gonna be like, "You're
the biggest
riots. Stupidest thing on the
planet." We're all in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Washington, and Oregon, which are some of the whitest states in America.
But you distract people. Yeah. I always look at everything like from a strategic like standpoint of like going like the art of war, right? And it's like, all right, you distract people with this, and people are all into this, and it's totally taken away the distraction of having them unify and come against what they should all be fighting together.
It's division. It's
black, white, Asian, got a dick, don't got a dick, boy, girl, him, her, whatever it is, like all coming together and like fighting like the bullshit of like the control and the masks and the fucking, you know, you're going to be on punishment if you don't do what we say. And we're going to do all this other shit that like, just to show that like it doesn't matter, like voting and like the shit I learned about voting.
Yeah.
And the fact that the name of the fucking voting system is called Dominion, like, just that shit. It's like sounds so evil,
Dominion.
Dude.
Yeah, it does.
Like, dude, like you don't get more evil than that. Like, you know what I mean?
They don't hide it. They kind of rub your face.
Oh, they fucking slap you right in the face with it.
They're like, yeah, we fucked kids with Jeffrey Epstein and we killed him. What are you gonna do about it, bitch? They don't hide it. They don't.
They don't.
They're like, yeah, we'll kill him in front of you. And you're right. The division's a great one because it's a key of what the British Empire did whenever they conquered. That's how they conquered everyone. Like the Brits, a lot of people don't realize this. At the height of British colonial India, they were in control of over 100 million people with only a few thousand Brits. Not even a few thousand Brits. And it was just because they divided every single person.
Divide and conquer. And that's what I like. If you looked at history, or even if you didn't, like just the fact that you don't know what dividing, you can't see that there is a fucking violent division being implemented, and it's happening. And 9 out of fucking 10 people I know have fallen into it on one side or the other.
Yeah,
you know. And not to say that some people aren't like don't have their own like kind of like you're right on about those little things, but like the overall like you're either with all of this or all of this. There's no in between.
No gray.
Black and white. You know, not as in race, but just as in like the colors black and white. Like two. That's it. Like it's you're this or you're that. It's fucked, dude. It's fucked that people don't realize it, and that not enough people are talking about it.
Because, dude, the vaccine didn't exist a year ago, and now as a country, we have people treating each other like subhumans over this topic about what group you're in. And I go, this didn't exist a year ago. Like are
you an anti-vaxxer?
Yeah, it's literally like. Remember when you were in school?
I just don't want a fucking vaccine. And I don't want that vaccine. It's not even an anti-vaxxer, you know?
It's a shot. It's not even a vaccine. So they're using terminology wrong. Remember when you were in school and you play flag football or something? They just go, you're red team, blue team. And how easy it was to immediately just see them as the other side. This thing that wasn't real. It didn't exist. They just do that with adults now.
I know. It's sad. It's sad. I went in the pharmacy. It's funny. I forgot this. You just made me think of this. And it's because it's making people crazy, and that's what I'm thinking. I went in the pharmacy. It's like a mom and pop pharmacy, like one of the ones I got robbed in oxymorons, right? And and I'm in there.
Comes full circle, man.
And I go in the pharmacy. And I don't fucking know that they do COVID tests. I don't even know. I can't pay attention to this shit no more. All I know is it's fucking August. It's fucking 95 degrees, and I'm not wearing a fucking mask. Whatever. And I walk in, she's like, you need a mask on. Like, red, cold red. And I'm like, all right. So I go out. And she's a younger girl, you know what I mean? Like, probably like 30s or whatever, like late 20s, early 30s. And then the guy who owns the place is like an old school guy, older guy, you know? He's super cool. And I'm just like, oh, it's fine. I'm like, I don't have one, though. Can you get me one? I'll wait outside. And I walk outside. And then she comes over with a mask. And I'm like, cool. And I go in. And the guy, Michael, he's like, hey, he's like, he's like, you been to L.A.? And I'm like, nah, L.A.'s a little crazy right now with everything. I just haven't really been out there. I've been actually in Miami, going back and forth to Florida. And she's like, yeah, where all the COVID is. The girl says that to me. And I go, what do you mean, like, where all the COVID is? I'm like, I'm down there without a mask on. And we get into like a mini like little debate where I'm just like, she's pushing, and I'm not trying to push too hard back, but I'm also like, listen, like, I hit her with the whole vaccine thing about like when you get the vaccine, like you still get infected, you still give it to other people, so it's kind of a bunch of bullshit, right? Like I go, everyone has this false perception, the whole thing about the force field around them, and she loses her shit, like bugs out. Is coming at me. She's like, well, just go to Walgreens then. And I look at the guy, I'm like, I will then. And he's like, now the owner's telling her, he's like, calm down. She's like, I need to leave. And she storms out of the fucking. That wasn't because of me. I mean, I could see how it could be because of me.
She got hyped up online.
She's been pushed to the edge. And this is all she's thinking about in her head. And I am the devil because I am that person on social media and stuff and everything that I don't necessarily. And then I hit her with some factual science shit that she's like regretting potentially like being a fucking idiot and getting the vaccine because she can still get coronavirus and she's gonna need a booster shot in 3 months. She's probably gonna need a booster shot the rest of her life.
Yeah, the rest of your life.
And eventually it's gonna fucking kill you because you don't know what the 1 year side effects are till the thing's been out for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, so on and so forth, right? And I hit her with that shit and I definitely like fucking like she came at me, so I turned the flame up a little bit. But society's gonna start to snap, bro.
Yeah, I think
it's already snapping, but people are pushed to the edge. You know,
that's what they want. They like
there's guys like me and you out there, and guys like me. Like thank God for the goodness and the great stuff that like is allowing me to be on my game right now, take care of my kids, do amazing shit. You know what I mean? Like, and like live my life. Because if I was like didn't come out of this by now and was just like frozen, fucking, you know, unemployment, fucking whatever it is, like stuck, not knowing what's gonna happen, fucking the whole world shut down around me, I could be pushed to a dark place that I don't ever.
I went there. I went there.
So you already went there.
I went there. I was in it, and it took all my years of learning to get out of it. If I hadn't put in the work for years on getting sober about my issues, about, you know, learning about my mental health and what I am and am not in control of, and realizing when I'm being manipulated and fucked over, I would have fucking snapped. Like I went to that dark place because I was like, oh, I'm not stable right now. What am I gonna do? And I was like, oh, I'm getting pissy with some of my friends, and I'm like, why are you doing this, Mike? And I go, oh, because you were just on your phone for 3 hours getting amped up on Twitter and Instagram or reading these news articles, and now you're this person who just, you know, disagrees with you. You're putting them in your head as like a stormtrooper, and they're not. They're just some dude who doesn't agree with you. And I go, oh, I'm getting fucking amped up because I'm allowing myself. And then I got out of it because I was in a, you know, when you stress someone out, that's when they're easiest to control. I just read about what the Soviets did in Romania in the 50s, and they basically did a torture program to try and prove that humans didn't have souls, that they could make someone say something they swore they never would. All right, and the way they did it was through stress and degradation.
Oh,
it wasn't even pain. Pain helped, but it was through stress and degradation.
Yeah, that's how they get you to plead out in fucking the common fucking court system. Is they put you in a building where you stress the fuck out, you're locked in a room, and, you know, innocent until proven guilty bullshit like that. Yeah. Like that doesn't even exist. Like, you're held on fucking no bail. So how are you innocent until proven? You know, it's just like, it's bananas. Unless you're a danger to society and like murdered someone, maybe at that level. But like the things they hold people for to make money off of, like that shit. But that's what they do. They literally do that in the system. They do that so that they don't have to go to trial, because trial costs money.
Yeah.
So they push you to plead out and take it, because after being there and just fucking living that life, and fuck all like the violence and the gangs and that shit out of jail, which is like a whole nother realm you got to go into. But like just the confinement of being in a room by yourself, you know, day after day after day after day, it fucks with your psyche, and it weakens you. It weakened me. It broke me. You know what I mean? When they put me in fucking, I couldn't even talk at points, like, and I just would be like, all right, I'm just, even though I'm not guilty of this fucking case and I can beat it, I don't want to fucking sit here in this room that they have me in until I go to trial. And I got to like just take a plea to either get out or at least get off that unit and go to another, you know, that kind of shit. And I remember that. It's just the same thing. It's just like, so now you're within your country, right? Or your state. And then even your town, your county, your city, right? So they just like crunch it down, almost like a jail. And every level of that, there's like they got you stressed out. And exactly what you're saying. It's the easiest way for them to implement things that a year ago, before COVID, if they were like, all right, there's something, and just hit you with like, everyone's going to take a vaccine today, everyone would be like, fuck you, you know?
Yeah.
Fuck you. They slowly brought it in. Boom. Now you get it. Now you can still get it. Now people are like, what the fuck? And, you know, all these, I love these idiots like Rappaport that will like, the fucking unvaccinated are spreading it. And then he has to go back on and he's like, now I'm listening to Fauci tell me.
I watched that video.
And I was like, you know, at least he's admitting that he was fucking, but he should be like, yo, I'm sorry for being a fucking dick.
Yeah.
And following suit this whole time.
Calling you people morons.
Yeah.
And, you know, because
if I ever seen him, I'd probably punch him right in his fucking nose.
I'm
He's the
glad-
dude I'd fight, dude. He's a dude that I think I would fucking throw the mitts with.
I'm glad I'm not like, you're not the only one who can't stand him.
Fuck
because
him.
I watch him and I look at him, and I actually watching Rappaport helped me, because I looked at him and I go, I don't ever want to be this. Dude, you have had an amazing career. All right, you're in your 50s now and you're screaming into a phone. Why can't you be happy yet?
Yeah.
You've had an amazing career, you know, as a Jewish actor playing Irish characters, right?
Right.
You're trying to be Bill Burr, but you're not funny. And you know, you're just sitting there screaming into a phone like a madman. He looks like
an angry Muppet.
If I'm that angry, dude, I don't want to be.
That fucking Muppet knows I want to punch.
Dude, that's what stress does to your skin.
Yeah,
Like, look at that skin. It's just
the vaccine. That's one of the side effects, is you get fucking Rappaport head. I'm gonna do a little skit, and I'm gonna make all the vaccinated zombie people have his, like, take his head and fucking stick it on them.
It's wild. People, I've had those similar experiences where someone kind of came at me, and I go, I'm not a monolith. I'm not some guy that you argued with on Twitter. I'm a human being, and you're not that to me. You know, not vice versa.
No.
Because it's also the whole, we got people amped up about, like, that woman. We have New Yorkers and Floridians hating each other, and Texans and Californians, and it's like, dude, if you take a place, so Iceland, Gibraltar, and Israel all have over 90% of their population vaccinated. They're still dealing with COVID. All right. So, and no one's vaccinated in Namibia, dude. All right. So how is it that we're all a part of this same planet, yet somehow some of us think we're better than others, or that we're at odds with others? None of us are out of it. We're all still here. It's honestly the safest places that are locked down the most, and the lockdowns are happening after the safety. You know,
It's
not
fucking
because
nuts.
of it.
Yeah, no, it's nuts. It's nuts. It's the world we live in today. It's just, I don't.
My biggest fear, dude,
It's like
because
the Twilight Zone.
is I've learned more about people traveling than any other way, is when I travel to another country or another place and I get to meet people, and you realize they're human beings, and they're not someone from a cartoon, or this isn't, Russians aren't all crazy fucking vodka drunks.
But the system will have you think that you know,
and if I can't travel there, I can't meet them and humanize them.
Yeah. You can meet a lot of people in Miami, I tell you.
I'm gonna go to fucking Miami, dude.
You got Russians, you got Cubans,
Yeah.
you got it all. Yeah, you
Plus-
got everybody.
plus-
It's an interesting place.
On my way to Colombia, I
love
stopped
it
in the
down there.
Miami airport, and I was like, these women are fucking gorgeous, dude. And I'm just in an airport. I was like, these women are fucking, especially like coming from Boston where no one shows skin.
I'm typically I would go. I used to go to Miami all the time because CT lives down there and stuff. But like I was never doing what I was doing now, and there were always people there. But like I've built a pretty good net. I've been hanging with like other like fucking celebrity personalities, whatever, down there. Like a lot of people that kind of think like us have gone there. I mean, like I was with Jorge Masvidal 3 weeks ago at my buddy's club, and got to talk to him a little bit and shit. He's like very down to like earth, and he's like definitely like conservative and like he's from Cuba, dude. You know what I mean? Like, like he doesn't believe in any of that socialism bullshit and stuff. But like he was like, this is all that shit. He's like, is a bunch of bullshit everywhere else we go. You know, because in Miami it's like we're there and it's live in the club, people smoking blunts, fucking, it's off
people
living, right? And then you go other places and that's not the case. You get like him, just a bunch of other people that just different walks of life that are like all kind of on the same page with things. And it's sad that like you got to go all the way to a fucking another state, all the way, you know what I mean, to even meet people that are like overall think like you in a large group, as opposed to being somewhere where you're a fucking lunatic for the way you think.
Yeah.
You know, you're a danger to society. It's like I'm a drug addict again. Yeah. It's like I'm out fucking on methadone mile, you know, copping. That's what they look at you when you don't wear the mask.
Yeah.
All the people, you walk by the fucking 40 people, man, they're like, look at the junkie with no mask on. That's the feeling you get, you know?
Like you're plague ridden. And it's like, dude, I've already had it. I've had it twice. I'm good to go. I'm not worried. I take care of myself. That's my thing is like, dude, why don't you encourage some of you, like a lot of my friends are like, you should get it. And I'm like, well, I'm not up in your face telling you not to smoke a pack of cigarettes a day, not to be an alcoholic, and not to fucking Uber Eats McDonald's to your house.
Right, exactly.
Right? And you doing all of that makes you more susceptible and more likely to get it and then spread it. So
why don't you tell everybody to like fucking, go to the gym with, you know what I mean? Go for a run, whatever, exercise, build your immune system up, make sure and eat fucking fruits and vegetables instead of fucking McDonald's. You know, take some supplements, zinc and D3 and all that shit, and like build your immunities up for the winter, and everybody like kind of fight this thing together, right? Mm-hmm. They don't do that though. Yeah. There's not been one announcement of like a broadcast about like, do these things that will help you, you know, like zinc and this and that, vitamin D, zinc, C, all that shit. You know, eat more raw fruits and vegetables, especially going into wintertime, like antioxidants and all that shit, you know, like teach people that, because most people still don't fucking know that somehow. And then also, like exercise and not eat shit, you know, like you can't control the diet of America, obviously, and no time soon.
Encourage them.
Right. Mm-hmm. Encourage them though, you know, and like make sure that people like mix in the, like, even if you're not going to the gym, like just fucking walk 30 minutes a day, you
drink
know?
water. Like a lot of these motherfuckers don't drink water, dude. And not something filled with fluoride. Just drink some water. Yep. And it's funny where, like I keep saying, coming full circle, we're back here where the same people who created an opioid epidemic are now suddenly, like you same pharmaceutical CEOs who pumped out Oxycontin to kids are now telling me what to do for my health after you told me this wasn't addictive. You made this. You give kids Ritalin and shit.
And now those same people are making a vaccine that they want you to take and telling you you got to take this. The fact that it's not FDA approved, because even if it was FDA approved and someone's like, well, it's FDA approved, I'd be like, I still don't give a fuck. So it wasn't Oxycontin, right? And that wiped out a fucking bulk of the population.
Generation of people.
Yeah, more than COVID even.
You know?
Like times 10. And imagine that, like the numbers on that is...
I know a lot of people who died of overdoses this year. Yeah. Like a lot.
Oh, it's back with a vengeance. So,
because they were locked inside.
Fentanyl, now we're on a whole different level of things. But the pharmaceutical end of how a pharmaceutical company created an opiate epidemic and weakened the country completely by doing that. Like
on
totally, of course on purpose, right? Those same people want to give you a vaccine that isn't even FDA approved, like for some fucking reason, right? And that to me is like code red of like why you don't want to do it to begin with. And it's going to be the same thing all over again. It's going to fucking however long down the road they're going to be trying. Right now, there's like you can't even however it's created, you can't even sue the pharmaceutical companies.
No, you can't.
If everyone that got a vaccine went out into the streets and their head exploded, And the only people left were the people we couldn't sue them for what they did to our fellow humans.
It's just kind of it's wild to me that our country got laid low. We lost like a huge portion of a generation, and it wasn't some dude in a street corner. All right, it wasn't some thug. All right, it was a man in a suit who created fentanyl and Oxycontin and opioids. All right, that's which we got from opium in Afghanistan. Which
that Johnson & Johnson owns a bulk of those opium fields. The same people who make the vaccine.
And I'm like, dude,
and
why
baby powder with poison in it.
Yeah, cancer-causing baby powder. Why don't we have that same sympathy when, dude? I don't know if you've been to Melnia Cass. Have you seen how fucking bad it is? And we as a city ignore it. We ignore what's happening to these people.
Yeah.
And they're booting up in the street and just finding dead bodies at train stations, man.
Well, you know when you start to realize is like, Boston's always had its drug problem, obviously, but like it's always been kind of like everywhere, right? Methadone Mile of what it's like turned into now, where it's becoming like a Skid Row environment. And you've seen this all over the country, in all major cities and stuff. Whereas it was always just Los Angeles, New York obviously had its homeless population, but LA was like the big one, right? But like never in Boston were you allowed to like set up tents and like live on the street and do that shit out in the open like that. And that's kind of what it's become now, and nobody wants to address that issue. So to see all those issues that were like the issues that were fucking killing people and doing things get overshadowed by the chaos that we're in right now.
Well, it also isn't, rich people aren't the ones living in tents, so they don't care. They can catch COVID, so they care about that, but they don't care about that. That affects dumb, poor people. We don't care.
Exactly.
Dude, I've been doing shows all over New England, and every town I pull into, whether it's Providence, Manchester, Hartford, Worcester, Burlington, Portland, Auburn, it doesn't matter. Every little old mill town I pull into, I pull up, and there's people wandering the streets barefoot, disheveled, and I drive by a park filled with people legit booting up in the middle of the day with a little tent village. And I'm like, it's everywhere. And this is an epidemic, man, right here.
Oh, it is. It has been. It has been, but I mean, not a lot of like even films talk about it. Like even still to this day, like there's a couple of things about addiction now, people addicted that have definitely come out. There's one Mila Kunis that I want to check out where she plays an addict. But again, like Hollywood will like cut out the realism of like that, so you lose that. But like even after I made Oxymorons, like nobody talked about it. Yeah. Like I was waiting for like a major studio to like make the movie about that, and they never did. It never fell into place.
It's not addressed in pop culture because it's not easily politicized.
No.
And it's fucking, dude. So in an average year, there's 170,000 deaths of despair. So alcoholism, overdose, and suicide. It's over 200,000 because of lockdown, right? Those are, and that's just, that doesn't include, smoking deaths or eating deaths, eating yourself to death, or stressing out and becoming.
Can you eat yourself to death?
Yeah, cardiac arrest. If you just get fat enough, think about fat people who die.
I was thinking more like you just keep stuffing fucking chicken nuggets down your throat until you explode.
I think if someone sewed your butthole shut, like
it would work. Back to the human centipede. That's fucking funny. But I mean, all those things, all those despair deaths, and they've all written, and nobody's talking about them like they were. Like everybody had a group or something, obviously, like trying to fight opiates, and like that had grown into what it's grown into, And then this world comes in, and like all that stuff's kind of forgotten unless you're on the front lines of it and you're dealing with it directly in your own household, whatever it is. But other than that, like I lost one of my best friends during COVID. He was clean for years. He had a bunch of kids. Like one of my really good friends, actually. The comedian Zach Apothega?
Yeah.
Crazy Zach, that like banned from everything. Yeah. He's so brutal. So I'll get to him in a minute, but it was his brother Dave.
Oh,
his brother Dave. You met Dave.
I met Dave.
Yeah, so Dave OD'd, dude. Did fentanyl, sniffed it, dude. Stiff fentanyl during, started getting high, getting to Brockton, no work, like fucking, just fucking in his house with his girlfriend who was doing drugs, and like, can't blame it on that pandemic, but that's what pushed him into getting high again. He had been clean for a long time. I loved him. He was like a really good friend of mine.
He was a funny fucking dude.
Oh, funny dude. I was a day-to-day with him. He was someone I talked to almost every day. He'd call me. I'd call him. Make each other laugh, dude. Like Like he was all I could make him laugh when he was down and out, and whenever I had something, he could say some fucking funny, crazy shit, and it would make me laugh. And that's why I became so tight with Zach, and Zach's kind of the same way. And so I get a lot of like what I lost from Dave out of Zach, my friendship with him. It's sad, but yeah, I got the call from Zach. He's like, dude, I just want to tell you, dude, Dave's dead. Like, just like that, like just. And then a week later, his girlfriend died. She OD'd a week after him. So she was there, the funeral, and then dead. And then my brother, he got locked up. Probably a blessing in disguise that he got locked up, because he was like on the ODing, going into the hospital during COVID, ODing, and then they bring him back to life, and then he'd be trying to come home to my house to stay with me. But typically, I always let him stay with me. He's my brother, and I always like let him get clean. I love him, and like, but because of COVID, I was like, bro, you can't keep fucking ODing, going in COVID fucking
Hospitals, getting transmitted,
picking that shit up, and then bringing it home to me and my kid, dude. No, like, so you're out, dude. And so he just kept, and then like one time he OD'd, and like he was in a coma for like a day. They didn't think he was gonna come out of it, and he came out of it. And then he went to Florida to like plead out on the case, got high down there, committed another crime, got pinched, and went away. So he's like at least safe from ODing right now. But I was so worried about him, and a lot of people I just seen like that getting high thing with opiates was a lot of that was had to do with like boredom and like being depressed in their own personal
loneliness
things.
too.
And so then you have these people that kind of like got out of it a little bit and had been clean for a while. They've been doing good, and now you give them anxiety, and you fucking depress them, loneliness in the house, whatever, and it's just so much easier for them to run and escape to the whatever their vice is.
I know a lot of people who relapsed, like a lot, and then it got to a point.
Doing that? Are we doing?
Yeah, you're good. I had a point where I was going to wakes, and someone at the wake would then overdose within a week or two, and I'd be at their wake for someone else.
That's fucking crazy.
Funeral.
Isn't that
I'd see,
crazy?
yeah, and I was like, oh, when's the last time I saw you at that funeral for the other guy who had overdosed?
Why can't everybody just smoke weed?
Because weed won't nullify the world. You know, it's man, it was.
Weed saved me, dude. Weed's like, because I'm a functioning pothead, right? So I smoke, but I smoke like my sativa strands, whatever. And I know like kind of what, and a lot of the shit I smoke, I go into this like creative mode where I write more and I organize shit more. My head's just like, and so I'm functioning. I'm never like smoking weed and like on the couch eating chip. I'm like in the gym working out, fucking.
I gotta find better weed, dude.
Well, I guess it all goes with the chemistry of your brain and how it like reacts to certain shit. But like for me, sativas, like which are the ones that like put you up and give you more of like a positive mood and creative and make you want to like fucking paint this room or whatever, a different color. That shit is sativa. And then like the indica is obviously like make you like more hungry and just like want to lay there and like fucking more like probably like a dope high, right? It's like one's like the meth and one's like the dope.
My best creative periods are right after I fuck. That's like if I've been holding in, I haven't been laid in a while, and I get a girl and I have a good session and I'm finally empty, I lay there and I'm like, don't get mad, but I'm about to do some, and I was like, all right, I got to take out my phone, idea. It's fine. Once I have that fucking, those hormones out of the way, I'm like, oh, here's.
Once the reptilian part of your brain shuts off.
Like the elevated part of my brain goes, dude, this is what you got to do to be creative. Like idea. They just start flowing like you wouldn't believe.
I feel you.
Well, we'll wrap up in a sec. To kind of end this, so LA's changing, New York's changing. So these epicenters of where you used to have to go to make it in entertainment, they're not like that anymore.
So that's the thing. Like that like Florida, right?
Yeah.
Is like comedies. Esther Koo's down there. I don't know if you remember her. She was a comedian from here. She's done this.
Yeah, I know who she is.
And she's like that Boston comic, but she's had success. She was on VH1, all shit. But like, when I say Boston comic, like who else? Bulger, right?
Yeah,
like guys that like, who's the other kid that's really good? That does a podcast.
Fuck. How old is he?
Your age, my age, he's like 30s.
Noonan?
Noonan.
Will Noonan?
Will
Yeah.
Noonan. Couldn't think- Sorry, Will. Like, I know him. I just smoking weed, so I was like, this isn't the best strand, I guess. I can't even think. But no, so Will Noonan, like those guys that like, so like, you know, always had a show. You know, boom, boom, boom. Always like you always see them on a fly. You always see them posting shit. And like I don't see that as much anymore around here and stuff. And obviously it's like less than ever.
Yeah.
It was always like Boston was like finally coming back. The comedy scene was finally having different nights every night of the week. Somewhere you had a place to go and perform, right? Now that's like fucking e-braked again. But so down there, Esther Koo, in that comparison, I always see a flyer on her social media. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, whatever it is. So the scene down there is live for comedy. So for someone like you, then for me, like filmmaking and well, you're filming the movie isn't going to be LA anyways unless it's a studio film, right? So you're going to go somewhere where there's a tax credit to film anyways and where you got a network for equity and that shit. But like I'm meeting so many people in Florida right now. Florida's like the place to be, dude.
Yeah, I hear that about
New
Texas
York
too.
isn't the place right now.
No.
Not for what we do. Not for networking and doing TV and comedy. No, LA. Yeah, that was the spot to go to like get into the movie. But like I'm meeting more money people and like legitimate connections and other celebrities and shit in Miami every week because they're all there because they can go there and like fucking party. They can go there and do shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like all the fights are like crazy, you know, celebrity fighting and all that shit's happening there. Which I'm fighting in October.
Are you?
Uh-huh.
You fighting now?
Yeah, I'm fighting on that celebrity boxing. They asked me to fucking fight on that card.
Who are you fighting?
I'm fighting this kid, Josh Cologne, who was on MTV's Real World at one point. He's from Philly. I don't know that much about him. He was on the DC, I think, Real World. I watched some of his videos, like hitting the bag and like sparring and shit. Ain't stressing him at all. But I was supposed to fight some TikTok kid, Sebastian. He bitched out. Like, and some of my friends are like, dude, like you like post pictures and you look like, I don't see this in myself, but they're like, you look like you're ready to stab someone in the eyeballs. Like, if you look like, they're just like funny about it. And so that kid, he backed out. He was like, other friend said it. He's like, yeah, the kid was like, I ain't fighting that fucking bank robber from Boston. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I forget, like, I do have like a story that goes with me, obviously, where I was like, and these dudes, you know, they're not it's like I'm fighting professional boxers. They're other like reality stars, celebrities. So I guess I can see why the kid bitched out, but I called him out. So this kid's going to take the fight. They were going to have me fight fucking Baby Slice. That's where it was going.
Who's that?
Kimbo Slice's son.
I didn't know he had a son. Shit.
Me either. So, but right when they said that, I was like, fuck, right? But I was like, whatever, you know? Like, yeah, so he had a son that grew up in the Bahamas or something. And then I look him up, he's fucking 3-3 in Bellator. So he's like a fucking professional MMA fighter.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Bellator's like one under the UFC. And I look him up and he's like fucking Kimbo Slice's son, dude. And he's a pretty bad motherfucker. And so I told the promoter, Damon, I was like, fuck it. And my friend Eric, who like I'm always in Miami with shit. He was one of my colleagues and stuff, doing stuff with me and one of my good friends. He's like, you gonna do it? And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna fucking call the other kid from TikTok a bitch for not fighting me and then not fight. And then I go in, if I go in and I fight Baby Slice and he fucking knocks me out or whatever, or wins, at least like I had the balls to say I even fucking got in there with him.
You fought a real fighter.
Yeah, I fought a real fighter. And then my friend Kevin, who's Nate and Nick Diaz's manager, so he like manages like two of the baddest motherfuckers in the MMA world, in my eyes anyways, you know. He's like, you ain't fighting fucking babies. Like he like put an axe to it. He was like, I ain't letting you do that. He's like, you need to fight like another, get your name out there. Like, you know, like appreciate you having the balls to even say you'll do it, but fuck no. So this other kid I'm fighting now, which for me honestly is a better situation.
Yeah.
You know, like, but whatever. Like I would have did whatever the fuck I had to do. Right.
How was training going for it?
Not good. It was going awesome. It was going good. I'm in like the best shape I ever been.
I was gonna say, man, you look
But
really good right now.
I fucked my finger up, so I can't like. It's healing. It's like good, but like so I have to take a break from like any like hand work, which is fine. You know, so as long as I keep my it's good for me to keep my cardio up and just run more and you know. The only two things I can't do is like I can't hit the bag, can't hit mitts, which I should be doing in sparring, obviously, and I can't do pull-ups because of the finger. I just can't get the grip on this hand. But everything else I've been doing, and I think like I'll be back on all the hand work in like a week, so it'll be fine. And I'm training with like I'm gonna be training with some like serious fucking fighters. You know what I mean? I'll be up at Mickey Ward's gym. I'll be training with some other people. I'll be posting videos of like the people I'm training with and people I've been networking with and stuff. That it's gonna be dope. You know, so it's gonna give me a push. Yeah. So that fight's October 2nd in Miami. So like all these like fight, like even like I think the Jake Paul and Mayweather fight's gonna be down there. I'm pretty sure it's down in Miami. So a lot of shit's just happening down there. So that's just a place to be. You know,
yeah, I hear that a lot with Texas. I've been looking at possibly moving to Texas. And
why Texas? Like Austin?
Austin.
That's what I heard, Austin.
Yeah, Austin is doing well, and Florida doing well for comedy. Like a lot of the LA guys went to Austin. And
you know, it's lucky that you have that ability, like flight of fight ability to like you did it. You got up, you left here, and you went to New York. And I gave you credit for that. I'm like, yo, he's going for it. Because I did the LA thing. You see me like when I started going out to LA. You met me out there, you know.
And I'm sure you got the same thing with a lot of people. Like, what are you doing that for? And I was like, just doing my dreams. You know that whole thing.
That whole thing. You know, just like chasing it.
Yeah.
And so when you went out to New York, I was like, oh, because that's what Bird did. Bird went out to New York and he fucking, you know, and he became who he became, and like. You know, Verzi's my other buddy who's friends.
I know Verzi. Verzi's a great dude.
Verzi's from New York, and he's just like always he has a bigger network because he's in New York than Boston guys do, and so it takes a lot though for a Boston guy to like get up, leave his comfort zone in Boston, and go and start doing head to head. Joe List did it too. He's another one.
Yeah, I went from having shows to having no shows, and I remember it scared the fuck out of me when I did it. But
yeah, but whatever. But then you build it up. So, but to be able to like look at it right now and be like, all right, you're so into comedy like I am into acting. It's like, all right, where can I go and reside that comedy's alive right now? So I'm moving to fucking Texas. Yeehaw. Like you would never fucking think you would ever say that, right?
Yeah, I hate the heat, man.
Yeah.
I'm not built for that shit. I don't fucking tan. So I was like, yeah, but you can always go and just come back. Travel back and forth.
You should check out the Miami scene too.
I'll head down there too.
Yeah, you should check it out. I mean, it's like if comedy was ever there, which I'm sure it was, even like any like parts of Florida, like where Fort Lauderdale, wherever it is, like Orlando even. I think in Florida in general is because everything is open and people are going out and people are going out without, so. Yeah,
if you're going to do stand-up, you want to do it in a place where people don't have to wear masks, where there aren't giant. I've seen people doing stand-up with these big, like, plastic barriers in between them and the audience, and it also helps if I don't have to show.
It goes back
my
to
papers before I come in.
Like you would do a room. Like now you'll appreciate any room that has an open floor plan with fucking no masks and none of that plexiglass shit, obviously. But before COVID, a comedian would, and me throwing events with comedians and stuff, would look at a room and be like, this room sucks. There's certain rooms you're not going to do your special in because
absolutely.
it just, there's the rhythms off just because even like the Kowloon was like fucking the attic and it was like worked, but it was not the best.
It's not for recording.
And then what's the place that caught, I actually like this place. I just like the vibe in there that Ryan Cott was doing in Southie, in the basement of that restaurant.
Capo.
That's
still there. Will Noonan runs that show.
There's a vibe. Something about that room feels good down there, right? You ever get that? You hate it?
I have mixed feelings about it.
It's a small room.
But no, it's big. It's much bigger because they opened it up. It's like, I mean, go there. It's a good show. But it's a very affluent audience. And
fuck the audience. I'm just saying the room.
Physically, yes, it's great.
The room.
Physically,
not the audience.
Great.
No, physically the room. Something about that venue I love.
Those people treat me like dance monkey dance.
Fuck the people. I know, I can imagine what you deal with on that. I'm just talking about the staging and the seating and like
it's
that
great. It's
vibe,
perfect.
right?
It's a low ceiling, which is ideal, and it's intimate. They're right there.
Exactly.
And there's a stage with
so
curtains.
that stuff matters so much, right? As a comedian, and now you take a place like that and you throw a plexiglass or whatever. If you do that, or you mask the people, and it just takes away from everything. It destroys that venue, that feeling, the whole environment. You're up there like joke telling and like not having the response from people and being able to interact with their facial and feeding off of that shit. It makes no fucking sense at all.
Some places just have, like the old Comedy Vault in Boston made me want to be a comedian on how fun of a room it physically was to do stand up in. Laugh Boston feels like that, Nick's was like that. There's so many different spots where, and then there's some where you go in there and like a club will move and it'll go to a new location and you go, it's not the same, man.
Right.
Without that spot, without just structurally how it was built, without the energy in the place. You know, when people talk about the Comedy Store, they talk so much about, like, you know, if it's haunted, what is the energy like? How does it feel when you're there? And that matters. That matters. If you go into a place and it feels like a fucking plastic factory, it's just not going to work.
It's not going to vibe. Well, I hope you find it, bro. I'm telling you, come down and check me out, Miami.
If there's one thing I've realized this year, it's that it doesn't, at the end of the day, regardless of what happens, like you were saying, evolve. It's on us.
You have to. Yeah, no, you have to.
Like if the world gets fucking crazy, we still have to fucking make our shit work for us.
Dude, again, like that whole thing I was saying earlier, I'll end with this, is that like through the obstacle thing is like, all right, no movie theaters. Like I'm having a hard time with distribution because there's no theaters. I can't do the theatrical thing. Like what do I do? How do I evolve in this world of like filmmaking and like capitalizing on like making money doing filmmaking? So I became a partner on that doc room. Not like to plug my shit, but like
doc room. This show is for. Plug your shit.
Doc room you can literally download for free in your fucking iPhone, on your fucking TV, on Roku, Android, Amazon. It's everywhere, and it's its own streaming platform like a Netflix, but it's free. Subscriptions will get you if you subscribe to it and pay like a monthly membership's low. You won't have to watch any ads before the films. If you want to watch movies for free and not spend anything and not have to do anything but just fucking download on your phone, just fucking watch whatever the fucking ad is they throw up before the movie. No big deal. And not during the movie, just before it. Mm-hmm. And we got Alfred Hitchcock titles on there. We have like old Jackie Chan, fucking Hong Kong fucking karate film, like some unique film stuff, you know what I mean? Along with a slew of like indie festival thriller crime dramas like Oxymorons is on there. Habitual is going to be on there. We're going to release on the Halloween, so at the same time we go to other AVOD platforms, so like Tubi and shit will have it, but like Doc Room will have Habitual there, and we're going to do a whole plug. So like if you want to watch Habitual for free, download Doc Room, watch that along with fucking 1,000 other titles that aren't on Netflix, that aren't on Hulu. Mm-hmm. And kind of bringing back that, like, because like Netflix and them, they're not picking up indie films like they used to. Not. So like how I would make Oxymorons and get it to Netflix, that's evolved. So that's not a play no more. So how do I get a platform? Fuck getting a platform to pick up. Like how to just create my own platform. I'm going to curate all the crime and horror for Doc Room, and we're gonna, I think we already have 50,000 subscribers as of last month, plus the other set. So we got like close to 200,000 subscribers already, right? Mm-hmm. All together. And just build that platform out. And then go to festivals when they are happening, of course, and getting independent films from other filmmakers. And I'm going to teach them like the distribution world along with getting their movie on my platform, And of course I'll get a percentage of the AVOD rights, but I'll give them the bulk of it, and teach them how all that works. Mm-hmm. So that's the big thing that I'm pushing this year, more than just making movies and getting like actually having my own platform that eventually the Netflix and will want to fucking buy,
That's the way to do it, man. I've realized this more now than I've ever known. I've known this for a while, is that whenever a studio puts up a wall, Hollywood puts up a wall, or a comedy club, or a record label puts up a wall, the way you get over it is you make your own shit. And when you make a ruckus, they come looking, right?
Exactly.
Because if you're just waiting for them to come down and pluck you up, you're going to be waiting until you die, man.
Yeah, it's game over at that point. Well,
it's on us.
So you go through it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going through it. We got that Doc Room movies. Please download it. Fucking subscribe, don't subscribe, but just download it on your Roku, your iPhone, whatever, and check out some of the films we have. You can watch Oxymorons on there for free. So go on and watch Oxy if you haven't seen it or you want to see it again, along with, again, like 1,000 other titles of all different genres and shit. So it's pretty dope.
And where can people find you?
So Instagram's like, I'm the Johnny Hickey on everything. Instagram's where you'll find me most interactive, sharing stuff and talking to people. So I'm at the Johnny Hickey on Instagram. TheJohnnyHickey.com if you want to like go deeper down the rabbit hole of who I am and what projects I have out and what I'm working on and stuff like that too.
Absolutely, man. Well, dude, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me on.
This was awesome,
a pleasure.
Man.
Yeah.
I
Glad it worked out, dude. Sure.
Well, guys, thanks for listening. Peace.